and seeding, and Stanford looking to finish off the sweep. The Cardinal have won 9 out of 10, 12 of their last 14, and Tommy Troy has had a huge weekend here in Pullman. He homered twice in the ball game on Thursday, the first game of this series, and then came through big yesterday for Stanford as well. 3 for 4 with an RBI and a run. So they're the numbers for Tommy Troy here this weekend, as Tommy Troy is 4th in the Pac-12 in hitting, and why the Major League Scouts think so highly of Tommy Troy, the Stanford junior third baseman. On the other side, Elijah Hainline has had a big weekend for Washington State. Homered yesterday, maybe the Pac-12 pitcher of the year, Quinn Matthews. 3 for 4 yesterday for the Cougs second baseman. Scored a couple of runs, also stole a base. Elijah Hainline, critical to Washington State's success, and he has been locked in here this weekend, and they need another strong performance from Elijah Hainline to the Cougars. Pitching matchup this afternoon. Joey Dixon, coming off his best outing of the year against Arizona last Saturday, makes the start for the Cardinal. Connor Wilford, the surprise start for Washington State, just his second start of the year. His only other start came in late February in a game against UNLV, and they turned to Wilford in a game they have to win. Stanford and Washington State, the regular season finale. Lineups and first pitch coming up next on a Sunsplash Saturday afternoon in Pullman. We'll get it going next on Pac-12 Network. Special day on the Palouse. It is senior day, the regular season finale, but also a huge game for Washington State as the Cougs and the Stanford Cardinal wrap up the regular season as Stanford goes for the sweep here in the temperatures in the low 80s here in Pullman. Starting lineup for the Stanford Cardinal, and David Esker, the Stanford head coach and the reigning Pac-12 coach of the year, is the Cardinal already the Pac-12 champions. And the starting lineup presented by Graduate Hotels. Eddie Park back in the lineup today. He's been battling a little bit of a stomach bug. Came out of the game on Thursday, did not play yesterday. It's in there for the Cardinal today, as the Stanford lineup leads the Pac-12 in home runs, one of the top offenses in college baseball. And Timo Becerra in there for the second straight day in place of Owen Cobb at shortstop for the Cardinal. As there is Eddie Park, who last year was the Stanford Regional Most Outstanding Player. And he's been patrolling center field this year for Stanford. It's done a great job for the Cardinal. And even though Saborn Campbell did a nice job at 3 hits the last couple of days spelling Eddie Park, but Eddie Park was feeling much better yesterday and tried to talk his way into the lineup, but just out of precaution. And Stanford, look, they know they're the 1 seed heading into the Pac-12 tournament. They know their situation, so they didn't need to force the issue. And Timo Becerra in for Owen Cobb, and that's why Owen Cobb is not in the lineup today for Stanford. And on the other side for Washington State, the Cougars, Connor Wilford making only his second start of the year. His first start coming in late February. Now, he has been the long guy and a critical member of the Cougars bullpen all season. But in this finale, Washington State knows they have to win. And they're turning to Connor Wilford, who's got good command, a couple of saves, a couple of wins, an ERA under 5, and he will make the start for Washington State as the Cougars getting set to take the field here at Bailey Brayton Field in Pullman. And just unprecedented weather. It's been fabulous this weekend in the Pacific Northwest and here on the Palouse. And this is how they'll stack it up defensively in support of Connor Wilford. And a change behind the plate. Jacob Morrow will do the catching. Everything else stays the same for the first couple of games for Washington State. As the Cougs have taken the field, we're in the home whites and the pinstripes on this Saturday afternoon. It's Brian Green's team, 29-22 overall on the year. They're 10-18 in the conference. As we mentioned, it's senior day, the pregame festivities, and our great moments. And the seniors being honored, presented by Graduate Hotels. And critical senior class. And some key parts for Brian Green is Dakota Hawkins, Caden Kalber, part of that group out there, Jacob McKeon. That's a strong group of veteran players and seniors playing their home finale here this afternoon for Washington State. But a lot on the line for the Cougars, and as we highlighted in the open of the show, again, keep it in mind, Washington State has to win today to have any chance to get in to the Pac-12 tournament. They also need Washington to beat Cal over at Husky Ballpark in Seattle. So the Cougs need to win here. They need the Huskies to win over across the state. And this is a bizarre day when you think about it. And there's a lot still up for grabs, and not just, okay, for Washington State. A lot of seeding still in play on the final day of the regular season. We'll get on to the scenarios coming up. But think about this for a second. Your bitter, hated arch rival. You dislike nobody more in the country than your rival, than Washington if you're Washington State. But yet, the Cougars are desperately rooting for the Huskies today to beat Cal. And on the other side, if you're Cal, look, if you win, you're in. Then it doesn't matter what happens here. But for Cal, if they don't beat the Huskies, and Washington has a lot to play for also. But if Cal doesn't win, they're pulling for Stanford, their arch rivals, to get a win here in Pullman as Eddie Park takes ball one and we're underway. 333, 5 homers for Park. Had that stomach bug, left the ball game after 2 innings on Thursday. And that catches the outside corner from Connor Wilford, 1-1, as Mike Lusky will call the balls and strikes today. Gary DeFabio, our umpire at first base. Ramon Armendariz at second. And Kelly Gonzalez, the umpire, at third. Connor Wilford's 1-1 to Park, just misses outside. 90 with the fastball, it's 2-1. Is Connor Wilford, 6'4", right-hander, sophomore from San Clemente, Southern California. And he gets the call, it's 2-2. Began his college career at Cal Poly. And then Wilford went to the junior college ranks, Saddleback Junior College, before transferring to Washington State. Again, just his second start. The 2-2 to Eddie Park, swinging a bouncer foul. Two balls, 2 strikes on Eddie Park. Had his modest 4-game hitting streak snapped by Washington State with his brief performance on Thursday night. 2-2. Connor Wilford, the pitch. And it's ball 3. Full count on Eddie Park leading it off. So Park, the junior from San Jose, went to Valley Christian High School in the South Bay. And the payoff pitch outside, a leadoff walk for Eddie Park, and that's how our ball game begins. And Wilford, who has had good command this year, 11 walks coming into the ball game today. So that's his 12th walk issued in 44 and a third innings this year. 24 relief appearances, his second start. Park at first, here's Tommy Troy. 392, 13 homers, 43 driven in, and Troy having a great weekend. 5 for 7, a 2-homer game on Thursday. And for Tommy Troy, his second career 2-homer game. As Tommy Troy hit 2 homers in the first NCAA tournament game for Stanford last year against Binghamton. But great numbers all around for Tommy Troy. And he takes inside ball 2. Troy 3 for 4 yesterday. He's hit in 12 of the last 13 games, and Tommy Troy's had multi-hits in each of the last 5 games. He scored a run in 11 in a row. In fact, Troy has scored 20 runs in the last 11 games. 4th in the Pac-12 in hitting, 4th in slugging. 7th in on-base percentage. 3rd in total hits. Eddie Park at first, 2-0 on Tommy Troy. Connor Wilford the pitch, and it's 3-0 as Wilford having trouble locating the zone. You wonder if Wilford a little bit overamped the emotional day of senior day, and also the Cougars know what's on the line today. Diving back is Park. One game already well underway, and Utah was eliminated when Cal beat Washington last night. Utah was officially eliminated from the Pac-12 tournament.
Can you give him a high five?
As Tommy Troy draws a walk, and Stanford back-to-back walks to start it. Eddie Park to second. Troy is on, and here comes Carter Graham.
First baseman, number 31, Carter Graham.
316, 12 homers for Carter Graham. He's been red hot lately. Carter Graham has hit in 17 straight games. And a Mound Conference early for Washington State with Connor Wilford's struggles to find the strike zone. Graham 3 for 4 yesterday with an RBI, scored a couple of runs. He is 4 for 9 in this series, but again, the 17-game hitting streak. He's had multi-hits in 11 of the 17 games. He's also hit in 18 of the last 19. And Carter Graham is 6th in the Pac-12 in RBIs, as David Esker really saw a breakout season from Graham last year, where Carter Graham played sparingly as a freshman. And then last year was the home run leader in the conference. He had 22 home runs a year ago. Graham, the junior from L.A. 2 on, nobody out. Stanford threatening right off the bat. Graham swings and a drive to left field and deep. Looking up, it is gone. That ball is destroyed. Carter Graham, 3-run shot, and it's 3-0 Cardinal. That ball was hammered by Carter Graham. 13th of the year as Stanford leads the conference in homers. That is the 96th home run hit by Stanford this year. So the 2 walks preceding the blast from Carter Graham. One more look at it as, look, I think Wilford was just throwing a get-me-over fastball, and Graham made him pay for it. And he got it out of here as Braden Montgomery takes ball 1. .326, 14 homers for Montgomery, who takes a strike from Connor Wilford. Braden Montgomery, 8-game hitting streak, 1 for 3 with an RBI and a run yesterday. Homered here on Thursday. 1-1. Fouled back. Already bullpen activity for Washington State. And again, for Brian Green, there is no tomorrow. You have to win this game. 1-2 pitch, bounced into the shift from shallow right. Elijah Hainline gathers, and he's too late to first base. Struggled getting the ball out of his glove. And Braden Montgomery is on as Hainline in the shift was out in shallow right. So Hainline had trouble on the transfer, and that's an infield hit technically for Braden Montgomery, even though Hainline grabbed that in shallow right. And early mound visit, this is not what Anthony Claggett envisioned when he was mapping out today. And the pitching coach for Washington State heading out to the mound with the first 4 Cardinal reaching, walk, 3-run shot by Carter Graham. And now Braden Montgomery reaches on the hit. And the plate umpire, Mike Lusky, going out to break up the meeting. So mention one other game going on right now, or at least well underway. The others, 2 others just getting started. Oregon is clobbering Utah 13-2. 7th inning there as the Ducks broke their losing streak yesterday morning is when that game started. Yesterday in Salt Lake City. So Oregon up 13-2. And for the Ducks, Oregon playing to get as high as the 4 seed. 15-14, 32-20 overall. And Utah was officially eliminated from contention when Cal beat Washington last night, so the Utes just playing out the string. Their final game of the season is today. Montgomery at first, Alberto Rios, the batter for Stanford. The favorite for Pac-12 Player of the Year, hitting .398. 16 homers, 62 batted in, and he takes ball 1. 14-game hitting streak for Rios. He has gone 30 for 56 during the hitting streak. And he has driven in 27 runs in the 14 games with 9 homers, including 3 homers last Sunday against Arizona as a move to first by Wilford. Alberto Rios in Pac-12 play. Again, he's hitting .398 overall. In just conference games, Rios is hitting .431, 12 of his 16 homers. Just missed high to Rios. 2-0 the count. And the struggles for Connor Wilford here. Back-to-back Pac-12 Player of the Week honors for Rios. 2 for 7 is driven in 2 in this series. Another move to first by Wilford. Rios is second in the Pac-12 in hitting, second in RBIs, 4th in home runs, 3rd in hits, 9th in runs scored, 3rd in on-base percentage, and number 2 in slugging. And a breakout season for Rios, the junior from Bellflower, California. Southern California native. Connor Wilford, the pitch. And that's a strike to Alberto Rios. It's 2-1. Oregon trying to ride that momentum into Scottsdale and see where it will settle for them. Getting a great outing from Turner Spoljaric yesterday in beating Utah, then clobbering the Utes today. They have 14 hits. They've hit 1 home run. 2-2 on Alberto Rios. Montgomery at first, Wilford the pitch, and that floats high on a full count. For Oregon, they need a win to also help bolster their NCAA tournament chances, I should say. As Oregon, the latest projection from D1Baseball.com, had 6 Pac-12 teams in the field, and the Ducks are one of them, and obviously Stanford was as well. 3-2, Montgomery running. Rios strikes out. Throw down to second, not in time. And a steal for Braden Montgomery, and Montgomery's going to be called out for interference. As Rios on the follow-through, the plate umpire Mike Lusky is saying that Alberto Rios interfered with the catcher Jacob Morrow. There he is stepping across the plate, altering the throw of the Cougars catcher. And ruled out at second base is Montgomery, and there's 2 outs and nobody on. A break for Washington State. So a strikeout for Wilford. And then, as Malcolm Moore skies it behind second. Kyle Russell, the shortstop, fights the sun, makes the catch, side retired, but Stanford gets 3. Carter Graham, a 3-run blast, gives Stanford the early lead here in Pullman as the Cougs come to bat. Stanford 3, the Cougs coming to bat against Joey Dixon. And the starting lineup for Brian Green and Washington State, presented by the Graduate Hotels. Here's the lineup for the Cougars today. And Jacob Morrow, the only change behind the plate, batting 8th, but that real threat at the top of the order with Jonah Advincula and Sam Brown. Good 1-2 combination for Washington State. Jacob McKeon, the DH senior, playing his final home game. Homered twice here on Thursday, and it's had a terrific weekend. For Washington State, Elijah Hainline homered yesterday. So Washington State, good offensive club. And the Cougars, again, needing a win today, and Joey Dixon stands in their way. The junior right-hander from South Jordan, Utah, the suburb of Salt Lake City. And Dixon coming off his best outing of the year. 5-0 and a 4.83 ERA for Dixon. Last Saturday against Arizona at Sunken Diamond, went a season-best 6 1/3 innings, giving up a run on 4 hits, struck out 2 at good command last week against the top offensive club in the Pac-12 in terms of average. Joey Dixon missing outside, ball one. Jonah Advincula, 348, 5 homers. Here's the Dixon 1-0 pitch, and that's ball 2, 2-0 and Advincula. Well, good news on the scoreboard already for Washington State. The Huskies getting a run courtesy of a Cal error in the first, 1-0 UW to the second in Seattle. Strike called for Joey Dixon as Cam Clayton scoring on a Will Simpson single. Then there's a throwing error committed by Cade Kretschmar, the Cal right fielder, that helped Washington score. Paul-Sean Pascalato pitching for Cal today, as that's fouled off by Advincula. Jared Engman makes the start for UW. As Pascalato's probably Cal's best starting pitcher outside of Ian May, their number one pitcher who they lost early in the season to an arm injury. And himself, Pascalato, coming back from Tommy John. Full count on Jonah Advincula, the junior from the Bay Area. From Santa Clara, went to Archbishop Mitty in 3 years at Redlands College, Division III, and transferring up to Washington State. Dixon, the payoff. And it's slapped the other way, past the diving Tommy Troy. And a leadoff single for Washington State as Jonah Advincula is on for Wazoo. Punch that one past Tommy Troy, third, and the speedy Advincula is on. As Advincula is third in the Pac-12, 24 steals this year. It's the most by a Cougar since 1996. Mike Wetmore back in 96 had 32 steals. So leadoff base runner, Sam Brown, 375, 11 home runs. 56 batted in for the Portland transfer. And the Petaluma, California native from the North Bay, as Brown is homered here this weekend. He had his 27-game on-base streak snapped by Stanford yesterday. Advincula at first. Dixon moves that way. Washington Cal onto the second. Onto the second in Tempe between UCLA and Arizona State. It is scoreless. And Oregon's added on. It's now 15-2 Ducks in the seventh. Just missed from Dixon. Getting ready to start in a little while. Oregon State hosting Western Carolina, as Oregon State has scored 20-plus runs in each of the first 2 games of that series against Western Carolina. Dixon, low throw to first, dug out by Carter Graham. Shift on playing Sam Brown to pull. Joey Dixon. The pitch. That's ball 3. 3-0 the count. So the scenarios again, Washington State needs to win. They need Cal to lose. If that happens, the Cougars are in. They'll be the 9 seed of the Pac-12 tournament, and they will open up Tuesday. Stanford is locked in. They are the 1 seed. That nothing today will change that. And that's ball 4, and Dixon loses them. 2 on for Washington State after Stanford got the 3-run homer from Carter Graham in the top of the inning. And now there's 2 on, nobody out for the DH, Jacob McKeon.
Number 19.
348, 8 homers for McKeon. He's driven in 47, 5 for 8 in this series, and a 9-game hitting streak snapped yesterday. He went 5 for 5 with 2 homers on Thursday. 0 for 3, scored a run, walked twice yesterday. All Pac-12 last season. McKeon 10th in the conference in hits, 4th in doubles this year. Playing his final home game, the senior from Phoenix, transfer from Central Arizona Community College. Washington State threatening here in the home half of the first. Joey Dixon missing with ball 1. So he's fighting his command a bit early in this game, as we saw Connor Wilford struggle a bit in the top of the inning. 1-0 the count. Here it comes. That's in there at the knees and a strike to McKeon, 1-1. So the other scenarios that'll play out today. If UCLA wins at Arizona State, the Bruins will be the 7. Fouled away by McKeon. Arizona can move up to 7. They're the 8 right now, and they clinched their spot by sweeping that doubleheader from USC yesterday. Arizona can move up to 7 if they beat USC, sweep that series, and Arizona State beats UCLA. Then the Bruins would be the 8, and the Wildcats would be the 7. 1-2 to McKeon. Swinging a ground ball, foul, pushed wide of first. Right in front of David Bellamy coaching at first base for the Cougars. Jake Valentine across the way at third. If USC beats Arizona today, the Bruins, the Trojans will be the 4. Strike 3 call as Dixon runs it over the inside corner at the knees. Jacob McKeon didn't like it. 1 out, 2 on for Bryce Matthews, the right fielder. One more look at that last pitch from Dixon. And may have been a bit low, and Dixon maybe got a couple extra inches at the bottom of the zone. 1 out, Bryce Matthews hit his first homer of the season Thursday night. 255. He's driven in 13. He's had a good weekend. A couple of doubles yesterday for Matthews. 5 for 10 in this series. Takes a strike. Driven in 3. 2 for 4 yesterday with a couple of doubles. Drove in 2. Stanford winning yesterday after that comeback win in 10 on Thursday, 7-6. 7-4 Stanford yesterday. 14 hits, 13 singles yesterday. Outside to Matthews, 1-1. Advincula at second, Brown at first for Washington State. 1-1 on Bryce Matthews. A junior from Parker, Colorado, began his college career at Arkansas. Backdoor and missed with the curve. It's 2-1. So mention it's important for Washington as well today. UCLA has gotten a run. They lead Arizona State 1-0 in the second. John Vaughn's a homer for the Bruins. Swing and a miss by Matthews. So Washington can, with a win today, if Washington beats Cal, they'll be the 2 seed. And then Oregon State will be the 3. If Cal beats UW, the Beavers are the 2 and the Huskies are the 3. As again, Oregon State, their conference slate is done at 18-12, playing Western Carolina today. Full count on Matthews. The 4, 5, 6 seeding situation's a little bit more complicated. We know who the 3 teams are, we just don't know the order yet. Oregon cannot move up to 4. USC, ASU, and Oregon in the mix as Dixon walked them. And the bases are full for Washington State and Elijah Hainline. Jonah Advincula at third, Sam Brown at second. So Dixon has now walked 2. Hainline, 328, 11 homers, including one yesterday off Quinn Matthews. So a USC loss, Arizona State win, Oregon win, ASU is the 4. Then USC and Oregon would be tied for 5. But SC has the tiebreaker. Hainline shows bunt, potential safety squeeze. Advincula bluffing down the line from third, 1-0 on Hainline. Sophomore Elijah Hainline from Spokane. Went to Meade High School, an hour and a half away from here. USC win, ASU loss, and Oregon win. SC's the 4, Oregon's the 5. 1-1 on Hainline, and then Arizona State would be the 6. Arizona beats USC. UCLA beats ASU. Oregon is not going to lose, so we can kind of throw this out of the equation. If USC wins, they're the 4, regardless of what else happens. The 1-1. Hainline takes a strike. 1-2 on the Cougs second baseman. So a lot of scenarios still in play. Stanford will be the 1. Washington State, if they get in, they're the 9. Joey Dixon. 1-2. Breaking ball pulled through the left side and a base hit. Jonah Advincula scores. They're going to hold Sam Brown. Station is station for Washington State. They're on the board. It's 3-1. Elijah Hainline, a sharp grounder through the left side into left field. And that'll bring up Cam McGee. And wise decision by Jake Valentine at third to hold Sam Brown. Could not score from second base. 1 out, base is full. Cam McGee, 298, 3 homers. Struggled so far in this series. Arizona State transfer. McGee, 0 for 6 this weekend. He takes ball 1. Stanford playing the infield at double play depth. Tommy Troy on the edge of what would be the cutout over there at third. Same with Carter Graham at first. Middle of the diamond cheating for 2 as well as Dixon's breaking ball nibbles at the outside corner. 1-1 on Cam McGee, played last year at Arizona State, and then transferred up here to Washington State. Anaheim Hills native. Athletic family. His sister plays softball for the Sun Devils. Fastball right in there from Dixon. And McGee's brother Brandon, who played football at Arizona State, then in the NFL with the Browns and the Bucks. Ball and 2 strikes on Cam McGee. Dixon's pitch. Fouled back. Stanford has beaten Washington State 5 straight times. 11 of the last 12 meetings, in clinching the series yesterday. That makes it 12 consecutive series wins for Stanford over the Cougars. Dixon's 1-2. And a curve is bounced, could be 2. Fielded, stepping on second. Becerra rifles to first, and a double play to get him out of it. Just 1 run surrendered by Joey Dixon, who gets the double play ball to end it. We're through 1 in Pullman. 3-1, Stanford. Pac-12 baseball presented by Rawlings. Champions choose Rawlings.
Drew
3-1 Stanford on to the second. And for the Cardinal, will be the bottom of the order against Connor Wilford, Drew Bowser, Jake Sapien, Timo Becerra. Carter Graham's 3-run homer in the first, giving Stanford the lead. RBI single from Elijah Hainline for Wazoo. Joey Dixon got a double play ball to get out of that inning. Drew Bowser, 289. 10 home runs for the Stanford junior second baseman from L.A. Connor Wilford's 1-strike pitch, and it's 0-2. It's Bowser yesterday, 2 for 5 with a run. Had his 12-game hitting streak snapped by the Cougars on Thursday night. Multi-hits, though, for Bowser in 4 of the last 5 games. Wilford's 0-2, and Bowser tries to hold up, could not. Strike 3. Second strikeout for Wilford, 1 gone. Change the eye level, elevating a fastball, and Bowser couldn't lay off a pitch that was up. And he's down, 1 gone. Jake Sapien, the DH for the Cardinal, will be the batter. 276, 3 homers for Sapien. Swing and a miss, and Wilford maybe settling in after a rocky start. Couple of walks, and then the homer hit by Graham. 1 for 7 in this series for Sapien. He scored a couple of runs. Right in there from Connor Wilford, it's 0-2. Slight breeze blowing out toward the left. Temperatures in the 80s. As Sapien goes back up the middle, a liner to center. And a one-out hit for the Cardinal. Stanford with hit number 3. And Sapien has his second hit of this series. And he's on for Timo Becerra. Stanford shortstop, Becerra, .348 with a homer. Second consecutive day that Becerra is in the lineup in place of Owen Cobb, who received a couple of stitches after the game in the base of his left hand on Thursday. And that's going to be it, as Wolford going to be lifted here with one out in the top of the second inning as the Cougars go to the bullpen. Again, it's a must-win day for Washington State. I know that term gets thrown around quite a bit, but it really is a must-win for Washington State if they want to keep their season going.
Memory makers.
Olympian makers. Change makers.
The Pac-12.
Called the Conference of Champions for a reason.
Connor Wilford pulled here in the second with one out and a runner on. As Caden Calber pitched 4 innings here on Thursday out of the bullpen for Washington State. And the senior Calber, 6'7" from Pasco, down in the Tri-Cities. Transfer from Spokane Falls Community College. Takes over here for Washington State. There are Calber's numbers on the year. Calber gave up 3 runs, struck out 4, no walks in the ballgame on Thursday. And he gave up 2 homers to Tommy Troy, also surrendered a blast to Braden Montgomery. So one out in the top of the second. Calber enters for Washington State. After Jake Sapien singled, and Timo Becerra will be the batter for the Cardinal as Calber completes his warm-up tosses out there. Gone to the third inning in Seattle, 1-0. The Huskies still leading Cal. UCLA a 1-0 lead in the third at Arizona State. Oregon 15-3 leading Utah bottom of the 8th at Smith's Ballpark in Salt Lake City. And starting shortly, Western Carolina is at Oregon State. And then coming up tonight, USC is in Tucson at High Corbett Field taking on Arizona. Be interesting to see, for example, the pitching later in the day. And for Arizona in particular, they'll know their situation by the time they start. It's David Esker having a conversation with plate umpire Mike Lusky before Timo Becerra makes his way back up to home plate. But Arizona will know their deal, because if UCLA loses, then Arizona can get up to 7. If the Bruins win at Arizona State, then Arizona is locked in as the 8, so I'm wondering what Arizona might do in that situation. Will they throw their regularly scheduled starter or hold him back for Tuesday in their first Pac-12 tournament game? Caden Calber delivers, and he slings strike 1 in there. As the regular Sunday starter for the Wildcats is Aiden May, and he's scheduled to go was scheduled to go as of right now for tonight, but wondering if that could change. With essentially the game meaningless if UCLA wins for Arizona. And then the Wildcats to be locked into the 8. And you can save one of your better arms for the Pac-12 tournament. 0-2 on Timo Becerra. .348 with a homer for Becerra. Sophomore from Clovis. 2 for 5 yesterday. Just his second start of the year yesterday. And he takes a fastball 89 from Calber for ball 1. So you wonder the strategy as far as the pitching goes around the conference, and how they're handling this last day with still a lot of things to play for just about everybody in the conference. 1-2. Becerra chased it. He's down on strikes. 2 outs, Sapien at first, back to the top of the order, and Eddie Park as Becerra could not lay off that slider, snapping down and away. Eddie Park walked and scored in the first inning. He'll climb in for Stanford. Pac-12 tournament will start 10 a.m. on Tuesday at Scottsdale Stadium. Ball one from Caden Kalber to Eddie Park. Stanford, though, as the 1 seed, will not play until Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. They get a bye on the first day if pool play, and will play Wednesday night, their first game. Park lifts it out of play. Should Washington State get in, the Cougars would play Tuesday night at 7 against the 6th seed, because Washington State, if they make it, would be the 9. And then the Cougars would play Stanford on Wednesday night. 1-1. Top of the zone, 1-2 on Eddie Park. To the pool play and the revamped format for year 2 of the Pac-12 tournament. Sapien at first, Kalber, the 1-2 pitch. And Park chases it, and he's down on strikes. Side retired, 1 hit, 1 left. And Kalber gets a couple of strikeouts coming out of the bullpen. 3-1 Stanford, bottom of the order for the Cougs in the home second. Stanford, last of the second. Kyle Russell, Jacob Morrow, Jake Harvey for Washington State. Against Joey Dixon is Russell, 285 with a homer. Cougars shortstop. As Dixon, strike 1. Russell, the junior from University Place, over on the other side of the state. 3 for 8 this weekend, all 3 hit singles. So he lays off the high fastball, 91 from Dixon, 1-1. Russell, a couple of hits yesterday, going 2 for 4 with a run. 1-1 from Dixon. Just missed inside, 2-1. Gone to the 9th now in Salt Lake City, and Oregon 15-3 leading Utah. 2-1 pitch from Dixon. Check swing. It's in there anyway. It doesn't matter if he went around. 2-2. Really good crowd on hand for the regular season finale. Gorgeous weather in Pullman. And a big game for Washington State. Fisted the other way, looped into shallow right, and fought off Kyle Russell with a single. And the third hit for the Cougars. Got jammed, and he just fisted that one the other way.
Number 12,
Jacob Morrow, the Cougars catcher, coming up. 256 of the homer is Morrow's first start in this series. Sophomore from Warrenton, Oregon, the transfer from Lynn Benton Community College. And Morrow came up as a pinch hitter yesterday in the 6th inning and stayed in behind the plate, walked, going 0 for 1.
You get your dog?
Dixon's pitch, runner goes, hit and run is on, that slice is foul. Kyle Russell had a good jump. 0-1 the count. Will Cresswell starting the first couple of games at catcher for Washington State this weekend. And now Morrow is in there today. 1 strike pitch, 0-2, big swing. Oh and 2 on the Cougars catcher. Jake Harvey on deck for Washington State. Dixon. Fires to first and diving back is Kyle Russell. 9 stolen bases for Russell on the year as the Cougars have been aggressive all year running the bases. They are second in the Pac-12 with 70 steals. Oh, 2. Fouled away. Probably wondering, all right, if they're second in stolen bases, who leads the league? Oregon State. By a good distance. The Beavers have stolen 86 bases this year. Dixon fires to first, and that aided a total aided for Oregon State by Travis Pisano, who leads the league with 36. 0-2. The pitch. Knocked down, stumbling, and scampering back to first was Kyle Russell as Malcolm Moore could not field it cleanly. He blocked it, trying to keep it in front of him. And that enabled Russell, who would have been dead to rights, falling down off first base, allowed him to get back. There he is stumbling when he saw that it was blocked by Malcolm Moore in a secondary lead, and then was able to get back to first, 1-2. Dixon the pitch, and a curve. It's a high chop to third. Tommy Troy waits on the bounce, has one play. That's to first for the out. And as Kyle Russell gets to second, there's one away. Here comes Jake Harvey, the left fielder. 292, a couple of homers for Harvey. 0 for 6 this weekend, but he's walked 3 times. Runner at second, 1 out. Top of the order on deck, and Jonah Advincula for Washington State. 3-1 Stanford, and Dixon missing down low. Carter Graham, a 3-run homer in the first for the Cardinal. Cougars getting a run in the first, RBI single from Elijah Hainline. Dixon the pitch. In the center, hit right toward Eddie Park. Makes the catch, and Russell, who was off second base, will have to stay after going back. Line out by Harvey. 2 outs, back to the top of the order, and Jonah Advincula singled the other way to lead it off for the Cougars today. So 2 outs, a runner at second base. Stanford coming into the last day of the regular season, 22-7 in league play, 4.5 games in front of Washington. Dixon's pitch. Ball 1. So Stanford clinching the league title last Saturday and having some breathing room, but David Esker not wanting to take the foot off the gas this weekend, even though they already wrapped up the number 1 seed and the Pac-12 title. Tapped foul at home plate by Advincula. And for Stanford, there's bigger goals. Okay, one of the goals along the way was to win the Pac-12 title. They've done that. The next step is to win the Pac-12 tournament championship, and the tournament champion will get the automatic bid to the NCAA field. They accomplished both last year by winning the regular season and the inaugural Pac-12 tournament. Stays high from Dixon on the curve. And for Stanford, they've really already locked up being a regional host. It would be the 6th consecutive tournament they will host a regional. But also Stanford wants to be a national seed, a top 8, which they should be. The 2-1. Upstairs, 3-1. And by being a top 8 national seed, it guarantees you that if you win your regional, you will host a super regional. If you make it through a regional. Three and one on Jonah Advincula. Kyle Russell, the runner out there at second base. Dixon from the set. And the pitch. And Vincula pops up a bunt back out of play. Interesting dropping it down there as Tommy Troy came charging in at third. Full count on Jonah Advincula. Russell, the leader, or the runner out there at second. Here comes. And a fastball is fought off out of play over toward the concessionary, the barbecue down there, which smells absolutely wonderfully. The new complex down there with John Ollard was a big part of helping get completed here at Washington State, the former great Coug. New clubhouse, weight room, offices for the coaches, meeting rooms. Strong facility for the Cougars. And that's in the dirt, and Advincula draws a walk, or what would be the dirt. It's all artificial surface. And for Joey Dixon, the third walk he has issued. 2 on, 2 out, leaves it up to Sam Brown for Washington State here in the second. He walked in the first inning. Dixon not wanting to cave in and throw a fastball, tried the curve, and it bounced. 2 on, 2 out for Brown. Big spot for the Cougars first baseman here. Kyle Russell at second, Jonah Advincula at first. Quinn Matthews starting yesterday for Stanford, went 7 2/3. Dixon getting the nod here, keeping him on turn. As Stanford, David Esker not mixing or messing with his rotation, kept Quinn Matthews on Friday, and then he kept Joey Dixon on Saturday after Dixon's magnificent performance against Arizona last weekend. Gets the outside corner, 1-1. 1 ball, 1 strike on Brown. Stanford puts the overshift. Bowser's out in shallow right. Becerra, the shortstop, playing directly behind second base. Check swing, and he went around an appeal, says Kelly Gonzalez at third. Tried to hold up at a high fastball. Ball and 2 strikes on Brown. Russell at second, Advincula at first. The Cougars down 3-1. In a must-win game for Washington State today. Joey Dixon the pitch, and that's up and away to Brown, 2-2. Sam Brown, 2 for 10 in this series, 6th in the Pac-12 in hitting, 6th in RBIs. Joey Dixon, the pitch, and a curve hit on the ground through the shift into right center. Here comes Kyle Russell, Jonah Advincula. They're thinking of sending him. They're going to wave him home, and that relay throw will not be made. Brown drives in 2, and Washington State has tied the game. Grounded it through the shift, perfectly placed by Brown. It'll be a single for Brown and 2 RBIs. There you see Advincula tearing around second base. And Washington State was not going to slow down the speedy runner who scored all the way from first. And that'll bring up Jacob McKeon for Washington State. Struck out looking in the first as Advincula scored 2 runs already in this game. And there was no stopping him, and he hit it, Brown did, right through the shift. Strike 1 from Dixon. So we're back to even. 3-3. Brown the runner at first. Dixon's 1-strike pitch. That's just a tad high. It's 1-1. 1 ball, 1 strike. Stanford 3 batters into the game had a 3-0 lead, and now we're even. Short lead for Brown at first. Dixon, the pitch. Running inside, 2-1. Dixon already approaching 60 pitches here in the bottom of the second. Right-hander laboring for the Cardinal here. 2-1 pitch. And a curve. It's down low. An appeal, no swing, says Gary DeFabio. And it's 3-1 in McKeon. And Dixon, who has started some big games in his career for Stanford. He started, in fact, 2 games in the regional last year. Bounding ball to short, backhanded Becerra. Long throw to first and a cannon for the Stanford shortstop to retire the side, but the Cougars get 2 and tie the game. Sam Brown comes up with a big hit. 3-3 to inning number 3. Here's a look at the RPIs with 10 of the Pac-12 teams in the top 91. And then you have Stanford at number 11. Oregon State 30, Washington 31. And both the Beavers and Huskies are in the conversation to be regional hosts.
Hear you up there.
2, 3, and 4 for Stanford in the third. Tommy Troy leads it off. Walked and scored in the first inning. It's Caden Kalber. First pitch and a half-swing bouncer foul from Troy. 0-1 on Tommy Troy, followed by Carter Graham and Braden Montgomery in the Stanford third. Three in the third as the Cougars have battled back from an early 3-0 deficit. Caden Kalber's one-strike pitch, and that runs inside. 1 ball, 1 strike, and again, Kalber, who threw 4 innings in the game on Thursday. And then Caden Kalber sitting in the Stanford dugout yesterday talking to David Esker an hour and a half, 2 hours before the ball game here in Pullman, as Troy could not lay off the slider. 1-2 the count. And there are the numbers for Caden Kalber on Thursday. But I'm sitting there in the Stanford dugout talking to David Esker. We look over toward the Washington State bullpen, and there's Kalber throwing a bullpen session the day after throwing 4 innings the previous night. And that ball ripped off the glove of the lunging Cam McGee down the left field side toward the corner, where it's cut off by Jake Harvey, and pulling into second base is Tommy Troy. That was a sizzling grounder off the bat of Troy, and McGee tried to make a lunging stop toward the line. That'll go as a double. And Tommy Troy, another hit. And a leadoff base runner for Stanford. He's at second base. So the double by Troy off the glove of the third baseman McGee, and Carter Graham homered in the first inning will be the batter. Graham takes ball 1. So Graham extending his hitting streak to 18 games with his 13th home run of the year. Crushed a pitch from Connor Wilford. It was a get-me-over fastball after Wilford walked the first 2 batters. And then Carter Graham was sitting dead red, and he did not miss it. The 1-0. Breaking for third is Troy, and the throw down to third, and a steal for Tommy Troy. Had a good read on Caden Kalber. And Tommy Troy steals third base, and for Troy, that's his 16th stolen base this year. Stanford now the runner at third and nobody out, trying to reclaim the lead. Cal got a couple of runs in the top of the fourth. They lead Washington now 2-1 going to the bottom of the fourth inning. Nathan Manning, an RBI, the senior outfielder for Cal. Carter Graham takes that pitch high. 3-0. Washington got a run in the first, so it's 2-1 Cal going to the bottom of the fourth in Seattle. Jared Engman pitching for UW. Paul Sean Pascalato pitching for Cal. 3-0 to Carter Graham, and he takes his strike. Went with a slider that time on 3-0 and not wanting to cave in and throw Graham a fastball. What was amazing to see Caden Kalber coming right back around and throwing a bullpen session yesterday after 4 innings on Thursday. Kalber's 3-1, and Graham is tied up, could not hold up, and it's full. Overshift on for the Cougars. Outfield playing deep for Carter Graham. Full count, nobody out. Tommy Troy, the runner at third. Kalber, the pitch. Graham, a high chop foul. And you wonder how long Kalber can go today, considering he threw 4 innings in the game here on Thursday. But as Brian Green knows, they have to win this game. And he's going to ride Kalber for as long as he can, how effective he's been this year. And that one hit Carter Graham, and Stanford has 2 runners on. Second time Graham has been hit by a pitch here this weekend. Runners to the corners, nobody out, and that'll get Braden Montgomery to the plate for the Cardinal.
Right fielder number 6, Braden Montgomery.
Single in the first for Montgomery. And now has a 9-game hitting streak. Montgomery is 6th in the Pac-12 in homers, 5th in runs scored. Last year's Pac-12 Freshman of the Year established a single season freshman home run record in Stanford history. Hit 18 a year ago. He's got 14 this year, including one on Thursday against Kalber. Runners at the corners, nobody out. Kalber, the pitch. Montgomery swings through and off speed, 1-1. 1 ball, 1 strike, and Montgomery kind of looking. You saw that eye contact and the body language between him and Alberto Rios on deck, as if to say, I missed my pitch. It was there. 1-1. Pulled over first, fair down the line to the right field corner. Stanford retakes the lead as Tommy Troy is in. Carter Graham stops at third. RBI double. Braden Montgomery gives Stanford the 4-3 lead.
Left fielder number 11, Alberto Rios.
That ball ripped right over the first baseman, Brown. There's Braden Montgomery all over that pitch. Driving in Troy. So Tommy Troy scored 2 runs today. And Tommy Troy has scored a run in 12 consecutive games. Alberto Rios the batter, and there is an open base at first. We'll see how Brian Green and his pitching coach Anthony Claggett handle this, with the dangerous Rios at the dish. Ball 1. And then fumbling and trying to get back to Kalber was the catcher, Jacob Morrow. 5 hits for Stanford after only 1 extra base hit yesterday. Stanford, 3 of the 5 today have been extra bases, including a pair of doubles here in the top of the 3rd inning. Misses, no, catches the corner. Delayed strike call for Mike Lusky, 1-1. Arizona State has tied UCLA. It's 1-1, bottom of the 4th. Ryan Campos is homered for the Sun Devils. They're in the 4th inning to pull even. They're going to the 5th now at Phoenix Municipal Stadium. A chop into the shift, off the short hop, tough play, and it gets away from the shortstop Russell. Everybody's safe. Coming in to score is Graham. Over to third goes Montgomery, and Rios is on. He'll have an RBI, and it's 5-3. That'll be an infield hit for Rios on the tough play. In the shift, and Kyle Russell just could not come up with it. Knew he had to hurry and take it off the short hop. That was the only chance. They had to get it out, and I wonder if Russell was even thinking about trying to get Montgomery off second base there, maybe took a peek. 5-3, nobody out, runners of the corners. And that'll bring up Malcolm Moore, a pop out. First time up today. The freshman catcher for the Cardinal. Stanford, after Washington State tied it in the home second, the Cardinal have come right back. Going to the fifth now at Husky Ballpark, 2-1 Cal leading Washington. And it's a final in Salt Lake City. Oregon clobbers Utah 15-3. Moore to right, and it falls in front of Matthews for a hit. Trotting home is Montgomery. Stopping at second is Rios. Malcolm Moore, an RBI single, and Stanford's put up 3 here in the top of the third inning. It's 6-3.
Second baseman number 2, Drew Bowser.
Stopping at second is Alberto Rios. 5 straight Cardinal have reached to open up the third against Calber. And Anthony Claggett headed out to the mound. Pitching coach for the Cougs has been a busy man already, and some stirring in the Washington State bullpen again. As Calber struggling to get going here in the third after going strikeout, entering in the second inning. So Oregon with the win. The Ducks now 16-14 in league play, heading to Scottsdale. 33-20 overall, and the Utah season ends 9-20 with a tie against UCLA in league play, and 22-32 overall. And again, Utah was officially eliminated from the opportunity to go to Scottsdale with the loss, or with their loss yesterday, and by virtue of Arizona and Cal picking up wins. 2 on, nobody out. Drew Bowser struck out in the second. 6-3 Cardinal as Stanford rallying right back at Washington State after the Cougars tied it. Caden Calber, hard grounded, this could be 2. Flipped, Russell the turn at second base. 2, double play. Just what Caden Calber needed. Bowser a sharp grounder right at the second baseman Elijah Hainline. Alberto Rios slides over to third. There's two-way, leaves it up to Jake Sapien. Single in the second for Sapien, the Stanford DH. So runner at third, 2 down. Caden Calber, 6'7" right-hander. Just misses inside, and the delivery where he slings it, as you see, body gets out in front of it almost, and he's dragging and whipping, creating that whipping action. The long, lanky, gangly frame. Catches the inside edge, 1-1. 1 ball, 1 strike on Jake Sapien, the 8-hitter for Stanford. Alberto Rios, the runner at third. First 5 Cardinal reached here in the third inning. As that's a strike, low outside corner. Good pitch from Caden Calber. It's 1-2. Tommy Troy double got this inning started past the bag of third and off the glove of Cam McGee. Carter Graham hit by a pitch. Braden Montgomery laced a double down the right field side. Driving in a run, Sapien taps it foul at the plate. Alberto Rios, an infield hit and an RBI, plus an RBI single from Malcolm Moore. Ball and 2 strikes on Sapien. Rios, right near the third base bag, stretching out that lead. Calber, here it comes. Did he go? Yes, he did. Tried to hold up, and a slider down and away, and Calber gets the strikeout. Side retired, but Stanford reclaims the lead. They get 3. Rather the middle third of the order coming up for Washington State in the home third. Well, yesterday, the Utes were eliminated when they lost to Oregon, coupled with Cal's win over Washington last night, and Arizona sweeping a doubleheader from USC. Big nights for Carson Crawford and Caleb Lomavita for Cal. Then Tony Bullard, a huge day in that doubleheader sweep of USC. And then Deuce Gorson late in the night, lifting UCLA to a win, clinching their spot in the Pac-12 tournament. And the Bruins and Sun Devils are 1-1 in the fifth today. Cal up 2-1 on Washington, bottom 5 in Seattle. And Oregon has beaten Utah 15-3. Oregon State a run already, leading Western Carolina 1-0. As Travis Bizana scoring a run, he doubled to lead it off for the Beavs as Bryce Matthews skies this one out of play. Matthews walked in the first inning. Tonight, USC, Arizona. 6 o'clock start at High Corbett Field in Tucson. Joey Dixon, the one-strike pitch. Fouled off again by Bryce Matthews. Matthews followed by Elijah Hainline and Cam McGee in the Cougars' third. 3 runs in each the first and third innings for Stanford. 0-2 to Matthews. Strike 3 called, ran the fastball in after starting him off away, came in, gets the strikeout. And it's the second for Joey Dixon, 1 away. Good fastball on the low inside edge. So 1 gone for Elijah Hainline, an RBI single in the first for the Cougars' second baseman. Playing him to pull defensively as Dixon overthrows that fastball, 92 for ball 1. Hainline fooled there. It's 1-1. And if you're looking, okay, well, at the standings that we showed, and the Cougars have played one less game in league play than Cal or Arizona, and Arizona they can't catch, but they can still catch Cal. Grounded foul by Hainline. And the reason is, when UCLA was here for a series earlier this year, Washington State and the Bruins only played 2 of the 3 games. There were weather issues that weekend, and that game could prove to be large. Considering if Washington State won it, then they'd be in the driver's seat today and not Cal in terms of if they win and they're in. Hainline chased it and he's down on strikes. 2 gone in the Cougar third. That'll bring up Cam McGee.
Third baseman, number 7, Cam McGee.
McGee a double play ball in the first. He's 0 for 1. So that half game could prove to be large because if Cal wins and Washington State wins today, Cal is in and they would get that 9th spot by a half game over Washington State. Ball 1 to Cam McGee. And Washington State, they took 2 out of 3 from Cal last weekend in Berkeley. So, but the possibility of a tie can't happen. Called strike. 1-1 on McGee. So that would take the tiebreaker out of the equation. Which is a break for Cal. 1-1. Hit in the air, slicing toward foul ground. Alberto Rios crossing over and makes the catch in that side warning track. And a 1-2-3 inning for Joey Dixon. Through 3 in Pullman. 6-3, Stanford leading Wazoo. Well, Stanford on a roll heading in toward the Pac-12 tournament. And look, David Esker wanted to keep his team clicking. They did not want to ease into the Pac-12 tournament because once you kind of lose that edge, it's hard to get it back. And David Esker knows that very well. And so Eske, as you see him talking to Andre Mercurio, his first base coach, is headed out to his position. Timo Becerra, Eddie Park, Tommy Troy coming up. And Stanford trying to keep that momentum going. They don't want to lose that edge. And that tunnel vision that Eski talked about that they need to keep. Even though that they already know their spot after winning the Pac-12 title last Saturday and knowing they were going to be the number 1 seed. And again, they're still playing for things. They still want to be a top 8 national seed. And they're in a great position to be a top 8 national seed. 36-14, 22-7 in this conference as Becerra looks at a strike. Becerra struck out in the second. That was the first batter that Caden Kalber faced. Swing, fly ball, center field, breaking over and in, and nice catch. Gliding over toward right center by Jonah Advincula. There's one away. Top of the order, Eddie Park is 0 for 1 with a walk. He scored a run. And again, just coming back from that stomach bug that took him out of the game after starting on Thursday night. And then was not in the lineup yesterday for Stanford. One gone, top of the fourth for Park. Kalber floats that one outside for ball 1. Stanford, if you get to be a top 8 national seed, that means not only will you host your regional, but should you advance, you would host your super as well. And Stanford would love to be in the friendly confines of Sunken Diamond for the run to Omaha in the College World Series, as Stanford has been to Omaha each of the last 2 years. And again, the only team in the country that has hosted a regional each of the last 5 years. Soon to be 6. Called strike to Eddie Park. It's 2-1. Huskies have tied Cal. So run on the bottom of the 5th. Against Paul-Sean Pascalato, 2-2, Cal and UW. Huskies still batting in the home 5th. Which is good news for Washington State as Eddie Park fouls it back. Again, the Cougars need to win, and they need Washington to beat Cal.
Sit him down! Get in the chair!
2-2. The pitch to Park. Reaches for it. Fights it off. We'll do it again. And the Huskies, the way they tied it, Kobe Morales stole home to pull even, so it's 2-2. 2-2 on Park. Kalber. The pitch. Slicing, pushing, foul. Down toward the Cougars bullpen. And Eddie Park can be a frustrating at bat for pitchers because this is what he can do. He can get in fight off, foul ball mode, and he can battle you and just waste pitches. Give you a prolonged at bat. Can raise that pitch count. That's what he's really good at. Waiting for his pitch. And he takes it just low in a full count. As Eddie Park has a tremendous eye. Full count, 1 out. Caden Kalber. 3-2. And Park fights off another one. Maybe offered at ball 4. That was in on his hands. And he loops it into the crowd. Top of the Stanford order, Tommy Troy is on deck for the Cardinal. Again, Kalber's 3-2, and Park draws a walk. Second time Eddie Park has walked in this one. There's a runner at first for Troy, who scored 2 runs already today, a walk and a double. And he's stolen a base, and Tommy Troy in this series now is 6 for 8. So 1 out, Eddie Park, runner at first base. Activity beginning again for the Cougs in the bullpen. Up and in, buzzes the tower of Tommy Troy, who takes a look out at Kalber. And Tommy Troy, I don't think, enjoyed that pitch up and in. And there's some John going on between them. The umpires are stepping in here. It's Tommy Troy talking to plate umpire Mike Lusky. Now that's the second base umpire, Ramon Armendariz, coming in to have a few words. And now David Esker, the head coach of the Cardinal, coming out after the umpires kind of stepped in. The Huskies have taken the lead now on Cal. Michael Snyder, a 2-run homer for Washington. So a 3-run bottom of the 5th for the Huskies. And it's 4-2 Washington leading Cal. Here's one more look. And again, this was what started a little conversation between batter and pitcher. As Tommy Troy didn't like it, just immediately glared out at Caden Kalber, and the umpires quickly got control of the situation. Moved to first by Kalber. So that's good news for Washington State in terms of Washington taking the lead. Still batting in the bottom of the 5th. But the Cougars need to take care of business here. They have to win this one, and they need Washington to beat Cal to get in. Called strike to Tommy Troy, the outside edge, 1-1. 4-2 Huskies, bottom 5 here at 6-3 Stanford, top 4. 1-1 UCLA, Arizona State, bottom of the 5th. At Phoenix Municipal Stadium. Just missed to Tommy Troy. Oregon a win already over Utah. And Beavers up 2-0 in the second against Western Carolina. Two and one on Troy. The pitch, 3-1. Look, I'm not saying there was any intent, but it could have been a message delivered to Troy that he was feeling too comfortable to plate from Washington State's perspective, especially against Kalber, considering Troy is 3 for 3 against Kalber this weekend with 2 homers and a double. 3-1 pitch and fouled straight back by Tommy Troy. Three and 2 with 1 out. Tommy Troy is hitting now 13 of the last 14 games. 4th in the Pac-12 in hitting and slugging. 7th in on-base percentage. Kalber moves to first. Eddie Park dives back. Huskies have gone to the bullpen in the 6th. They brought in Case Matter with his microscopic .42 ERA in the 6th inning. In relief of Jared Engman now that UW has the lead. And again, Washington, if they win, they'll be the 2 seed at the Pac-12 tournament. Another throw over from Kalber. Is that 50 pitches? Eddie Park, short lead at first base. Kalber's pitch And Troy swings and loops it into left, and a soft liner that's a hit. Boy, Tommy Troy is 4 for 4 against Caden Kalber now. Eddie Park stops at second. And there's 2 on as Stanford's at it again. Carter Graham scored 2 runs, a 3-run homer in the first, hit by a pitch his last time. The tough thing about pitching to the Stanford lineup is there just aren't any weak spots. No easy outs anywhere to find. Park at second, Troy at first, 1 out. Kalber could use another double play ball. Overshift on. An inside-out swing, fisted foul by Carter Graham. Kids going chasing after it. But a great day for a ball game in Pullman and a huge game for Washington State. Swing and a miss. Ran the fastball in, and it's 0-2 on Carter Graham. It's all hands on deck today for Washington State, considering their season is over if they lose. They need a win to try to keep it going, and they need help. Graham down on strikes, chase the slider. That's the 4th strikeout for Caden Kalber since entering. 2 on, 2 out for Braden Montgomery. Montgomery is single and a double, an RBI and a run. Cleanup batter for the Cardinal. Caleb Lomavita has just homered for Cal against Case Matters, so it's 4-3 Washington now. So Cal getting a run back against the Huskies bullpen. Montgomery takes ball 1 from Kalber. Overshift on. Elijah Hainline, the second baseman's out in shallow right. Straight up at third is Cam McGee. Huge hole in the left side of the infield at the shortstop spot. See that? Kyle Russell is on the right side of second base. 2-0 on Montgomery. (6-3) Stanford, just in the 4th inning. Runners lead for the Cardinal. Caden Kalber, here it comes. And it's 3-0, and Kalber now a pitch away from loading the bases for potentially the Pac-12 Player of the Year, Alberto Rios. Wonder if he'll have the green light. We'll see. Montgomery pretty locked in as well right now for Stanford. And that's a strike. Top of the zone. Montgomery thought it was high. Started cheating up the line. 3-1 on Braden Montgomery. Three and 1, 2 on. Kalber, the pitch. Swing and a grounder into the shift and past the lunging second baseman Hainline around third. Racing home. Tommy Troy, rather Eddie Park scores. Tommy Troy over to third. RBI single. Braden Montgomery's 3 for 3 is driven in 2. And that gives him 50 RBIs now on the year, and it's 7-3 Cardinal. And the shift, and if Washington State's playing it straight up, Braden Montgomery's probably retired. But the shift, the second baseman was out in shallow right and angled over toward the line a little bit. So an RBI single for Montgomery. 2 out hit. Runners at the corners for Alberto Rios. Rios a single and an RBI in the third. He's 1 for 2. Stanford, this offense is just relentless. Second best hitting team in the league in terms of average, behind Arizona. Caden Kalber's pitch. That's fouled off of the plate by Rios. 0-1 on Alberto Rios. It's David Esker's team collectively coming in, hitting .313. And the opposition against Stanford pitching this year hitting only .254. They're a plus 31 coming in, now plus 32 in homers this year. One strike pitch. Montgomery running, bluffing a throw and trying to draw a throw. Stopping momentarily was Montgomery. And Morrow not biting is a stolen base for Braden Montgomery. Second and third. And it's 0-2 on Rios. Kalber needs to finish him off. Way outside. Nice lunging backhand stop by the catcher, Jacob Morrow. Ball and 2 strikes on Alberto Rios. Look at the numbers offensively for Stanford. Second in the conference in hitting to Arizona. Lead the league in homers. And they're third in runs scored. Pulled sharply foul just wide of Tommy Troy, the runner over there. And we'll do it again. And twice last week, Stanford put up 20 runs in a game. A week ago Tuesday at Santa Clara and in midweek against a solid Broncos team, which Washington State saw not too long ago. And then last Sunday, they put up 20 and lost to Arizona. 21-20 in 10 innings. 1-2. Way outside to Rios. 2-2. Two balls, 2 strikes, and Alberto Rios. Tommy Troy at third, Braden Montgomery at second. Kalber, the pitch. Ground ball. Charging it. Russell Fields unloads high to first base, pulling Brown off the bag. Kyle Russell, reliable shortstop with an error, and Stanford gets a run out of it. And it's now 8-3 Cardinal. It's Kyle Russell, a slow bouncer. There you see him moving in. And instead of getting upright and throwing it, he slung it over to first base, and the throw pulled Brown off the bag, and Stanford gets a break. Montgomery at third. That'll be an error on the Washington State shortstop. No RBI with 2 outs as Tommy Troy comes in, scoring his 3rd run of the day. And Anthony Claggett, the pitching coach, now out there, and that's going to be it for Caden Kalber. Kalber is done. The Cougars go to the bullpen again. Coming out of the pen for Washington State is Cam Liss. 8-3 Stanford. New pitcher for the Cougs is senior lefty Cam Liss, Spokane native from Spokane Falls Community College. 3rd pitcher by Washington State after Caden Kalber throws 2 1/3, gives up 6 hits, struck out 4 with a walk. He's responsible for Montgomery aboard and Rios. There are the numbers for Liss on the year. Solid numbers. The walks have been an issue for the left-hander. First appearance this weekend for Cam Liss. Stanford has gotten 2 here in the 4th. Some add-on runs. 8-3 they lead it. Liss last pitched an inning against Cal last weekend. In fact, last Saturday. Gave up a run with a strikeout. So Liss enters the game. Connor Wilford started. As Wilford lasted an inning and a third, then they turned to Kalber and tried to ride him as long as they could. And now Liss, the new pitcher, and the error keeps this inning going for Stanford after the throwing error committed by Kyle Russell. So left-handed hitting Malcolm Moore, the batter, runners at the corners facing Liss. And Kalber leaving the mound for the final time. in Pullman as a Washington State Cougar. He's hoping it's not the last time for Washington State overall. But again, they would have to come back and win. And they need Washington to beat Cal. The Huskies up 4-3. Cal still batting in the 6th after a homer from Caleb Lomavita. Against Case Matter, Bears have 2 on with 1 out. Runners lead. RBI single for Malcolm Moore in the 3rd. He's 1 for 3. And he takes it a tad high for ball 1.
Just because it was slow doesn't mean it wasn't a strike. Go on.
Bottom of the 6th, still 1-1 UCLA and Arizona State. And that missed from Liss. Outside 2-0. Cam Liss checks the runners. And the 2-0 pitch, and turns out of the way does Malcolm Moore, and a fastball running in at 93. 3-0 the count, and a pitch away from loading him up, and Drew Bowser would be next for Stanford. Here it comes. And Moore takes a strike, grooved right in there. 3-1 the count on Malcolm Moore, the freshman. In high school, Malcolm Moore 2 times was named the California Gatorade Player of the Year. Well decorated. Freshman catcher taking over for Cody Huff behind the plate, who was an all Pac-12 performer last year as Malcolm Moore draws a walk, and Stanford's loaded him. Drew Bowser 0 for 2 will be the hitter. Bowser a strikeout and a double play ball. And so Bowser, the batter here, with a chance to really break it open for Stanford, and Cam Liss needs to get out of it. Down and into Bowser, no swing on appeal. 1-0 on Drew Bowser, the Stanford second baseman. Braden Montgomery at third, Alberto Rios at second, Malcolm Moore at first base. And the 1-0. Bowser takes a strike. It's 1-1. 2-0 Oregon State leading Western Carolina. It's in the 3rd in Corvallis. The pitch. Nice job by the catcher Morrow to block it. 2-1. Base is full of Cardinal. Stanford will fly home tomorrow morning, then head down to Scottsdale Monday night. 3-1 now on Bowser. So after walking Moore, Liss is running into more difficulties throwing strikes, which has been an ongoing issue for him, unfortunately. Needs to throw a strike here. And Bowser bounces one foul over near the Cougars' dugout. And Bowser, who hit a grand slam last Sunday against Arizona. He's got the bases full here with 2 down. So the merry-go-round will be going on the pitch from Cam Liss to Drew Bowser. And here it comes. And a high chop that is just wide of the bag, and Cam McGee lets it skip by. And we'll do it again as 3-2. Runners will go back. Three and 2 on Bowser. Runners walk off their leads, and they'll take off on the delivery. And Bowser pulls it on the ground to third, scooped up by Cam McGee. Throws low to first, a good dig by Brown. Side retired, Stanford gets 2. We go to the bottom of the 4th, bottom of the order coming up for the Cougars. Pac-12 baseball brought to you by Watch Sports, the official guide, schedule guide, the Pac-12. Download it today and Watch Sports to see what's coming up next. 8-3 Stanford. Oh, they're back up there on Washington State's version of Tidewad Hill. And the dog. They're up there yesterday. She was up there. I think that was her. And I'm guessing with her significant other as you see a flight taken off out of Pullman Moscow Regional Airport. Kyle Russell leads off the home fourth, bottom of the order. For the Cougars as Joey Dixon issues ball one. Russell singled and scored in the second. Jacob Morrow, Jake Harvey to follow in the Cougar fourth. There's a called strike. Cal has tied it against Washington now. A wild pitch by Case Matter. Rodney Green Jr. scored, so they're 4-4 in Seattle. Top of the sixth. 1-1. 2-1 the count on Kyle Russell. And now Cal just took the lead on a Dom Soto RBI single. Driving in Kate Kretschmar in the air to right center. Playable for Eddie Park. He lines it up and there's one gone. Dixon's retired 5 in a row. Here comes Jacob Morrow for Washington State. So Dom Soto, the RBI single. Cal 5, Washington 4. Bears still batting in the top of the sixth. Again, the scenario is if Cal wins, they are in the Pac-12 tournament. They're the 9. For Washington State to get in, the Cougars need to come back and win here. And they need Washington to beat Cal. Just a weird dynamic here in the final day of the regular season as Jacob Morrow grounded out in the second. 0 for 1. Of schools rooting hard for their bitter, hated arch rivals. As Washington State being forced because of the situation to root and want Washington to win. And Cal controls their destiny for the 9th spot in the tournament. They win, they're in. Fouled off at the plate by Morrow. But should they stumble, they're rooting for Stanford because a Cardinal win here would give that 9th spot to Cal. Now the Bears have opened up an 8-4 lead. Jack Johnston just hit a 3-run homer. And the Bears have reached Case Matter for 6 runs in the 6th inning. Fouled off by Morrow. And Matter, coming into the outing, had an ERA of under a half a run. It was at .4. And Cal has blitzed him for 6 runs. And Jack Johnston, the 9th batter in the order for Cal, that is hitting just 128 on the year, just left the yard. This inning started for Cal with a Caleb Lomavita homer. So it's 8-4 Cal. Oregon State now leading 3-0 as they've gone to the 4th over Western Carolina. And a diving stop. Timo Becerra to his feet. Rifles to first. That is a big league play by Timo Becerra. Magnificent play by the Stanford shortstop. Showing off his range, his athleticism by quickly getting to his feet, and the rocket of an arm. What a brilliant play. One more look at it. Jacob Morrow thinks he's got a hit. Diving stop. Becerra quickly fires and rifles it to first. So nice, you got to see it twice. And we did. 2 outs. Jake Harvey, the batter. Huskies have lifted Matter as Cal torched him, and lefty Sam Boyle's in there for UW now. So 1-1 UCLA, Arizona State in the 7th. Dixon pours in a strike at 94. One pitch. Dixon just missing outside again. 94 from the junior righty. 2-1 the count. Rough first couple of innings for Dixon, maybe finding his rhythm now. There's a ground ball that's punched through the right side. Took advantage with a second baseman, Bowser, shaded up the middle. And an outstanding adjustment and terrific hitting by Jake Harvey. Skips one through. Ends the run of 6 in a row retired by Dixon. Back to the top of the order, and Jonah Advincula, who scored 2 runs today, a walk and a single. It's a 2-out base runner for Washington State. 5 hits now for the Cougars. Keeping a close eye on Harvey, who does run really well. Jake Harvey has 6 steals this year. Popped up near third. Fighting the sun. Going back is Tommy Troy. In foul ground, makes the catch to retire the side. Cougars strand a runner. We're headed to the 5th in Pullman. 8-3 Stanford leading Washington State. Look at the wall of honor over there here at Bailey Brayton Field in Pullman. Hall of Famers, the All-Americans, College World Series teams for Washington State. A plaque for John Olerud, the legendary former Cougar. Buck Bailey and Bobo Brayton as well. Of course, this ballpark is named after those 2 legendary Cougar coaches. New pitcher, minus the beard, Grant Taylor. A little Fu Manchu action for Taylor out there on the mound. Takes over in relief. A junior from Murrieta in Southern California. 4th pitcher for Washington State. There are his numbers. He'd been a starter all year. And Taylor struggling recently, and Brian Green moving him to the bullpen. And he'll face 8-9-1 for Stanford in the 5th. Jake Sapien, Timo Becerra, Eddie Park due for the Cardinal. As Taylor, after a third of an inning from Cam Liss. Connor Wolford started, went inning and a third. Caden Kalber went 2 1/3, and now it's Taylor out there on the mound. Lasted only 2 innings against Cal. In his start last weekend, he started last Saturday against Cal, giving up 5 runs, 6 hits, surrendering a home run in Cal's 16-10 win. And again, his first relief appearance after 13 starts. And faltered recently, got off to a pretty good start to the year. 2.16 ERA through his first 4 outings this year. As there's strike 1 to Jake Sapien, who's 1 for 2. Went 5 1/3 of scoreless 1-hit baseball with 7 strikeouts in early March against Southern Indiana. Probably his most effective outing, although Sapien fouls it off. Against the number 1 hitting team in the Pac-12, Arizona, right here in the middle of April, Taylor went 5 2/3, giving up just 1 run on 6 hits. 0-2 on Sapien. 94 is Grant Taylor can bring it. And you wonder if the new look for Taylor has to do with him trying to change his luck here. 1-2 on Sapien. Taylor, the pitch. And that's an inside-out swing and fought off. We'll do it again for Sapien. So Grant Taylor, 6'4", 225 pounds. Starter last year as well for Washington State. 4-5 with a 4.67 ERA last year. Made 3 appearances briefly in that shortened COVID year of 2020. Went 3 1/3 innings, struck out 3. Did not allow a run. Then as second-year player, as Taylor again listed as a junior, even though it's his 4th year in the program. 3 starts, 11 overall appearances, had a save, a 3-0 record. And a 3.04 ERA as Sapien reaches for it on one hop to short. And throwing to first as Kyle Russell gets the out. One gone. Going to bring up Timo Becerra. And Becerra in the 9 spot 0 for 2 today. But Becerra, that play he made, that sparkling play, and the ball hit by Jacob Morrow in the top of the inning. That was as good a play by the baseball players you'll see. Now, it helped him a little bit that Morrow's not the speediest of runners. As Becerra grounded to short. Fielded by Russell, and 2 quick plays by the Cougars shortstop, 2 gone in the 5th. But Becerra, who went diving to the hole and then to his feet and threw out Jacob Morrow at first base. And Becerra's in there, again, only his 3rd game this year starting, and because Owen Cobb had to get a couple of stitches in his hand after the game Thursday night. So the regular shortstop for Stanford, the senior, is not in the lineup today, but is available for David Esker. Top of the order, Eddie Park has walked twice. He's 0 for 1. He scored 2 runs. As Taylor fires it in there at 95. The stuff is really good for Grant Taylor. Can he just harness it, and can he find his groove again, which he was in early in the year? Missed with a fastball there, again 95. Well, Cal has blown it open now in Seattle, which is not good for Washington State. 9-run 6 for Cal. Rodney Green Jr. has just hit a 3-run homer. So California leads Washington 11-4. Eddie Park lifts it out of play. Another 95-mile-per-hour heater. Washington State, again, they need to win this game to advance to the Pac-12 tournament. They also need Washington to beat Cal. And both scorers right now not looking good for the Cougars. 1-2 to Park. Two and 2 is Grant Taylor, the power right-hander. Here it comes. And he floats that one outside. Again, rear and back, and not much mystery to what Taylor's doing. He's just firing away. And a full count on Eddie Park. Taylor, the pitch. And that's low and a 2-out walk. And Park has walked for the 3rd time today. And his return to the lineup. And that'll bring up Tommy Troy, who scored 3 runs. He's 2 for 2 with a walk himself, a double and a single for Troy. 8th inning now. UCLA and Arizona State tied at 1. And the scenarios there is Oregon has already won. As far as teams moving for seeding, 15-3, the Ducks beating Utah in Salt Lake City. Locked up Tommy Troy, but it dropped down low. UCLA win over Arizona State. The Bruins will be the 7th seed, and regardless of what Arizona does with USC tonight, the Wildcats would be the 8. 2-0 on Troy. If Arizona State wins, then if Arizona beats USC, sweeps that series tonight in Tucson, then the Wildcats would move up and be the 7th seed. And UCLA would fall to 8. 2-0 on Tommy Troy. And it's 3-0 now, an appeal, no swing. And Arizona, who swept a doubleheader from USC yesterday in that finale of their series at 6 o'clock tonight at High Corbett Field. Strike call to Troy. Scenario for USC is easy. Well, if they win, it's easy. Because if they win, then they're the 4 seed, regardless of any other outcome today. But should they lose, Arizona State with a win would be the 4. Then USC and Oregon would be tied for the 5, but the Ducks lose the tiebreaker to the Trojans as Troy draws a walk, and he's aboard for the 4th time. Eddie Park at second, Troy at first, and here comes Carter Graham. 3-run homer to get it started early for Stanford. Struck out his last time. Oregon cannot get the 4. They can move up to 5 is as high as they can go. They would need USC to win and ASU to lose, and then Oregon to be the 5 and Arizona State would be the 6. Swing and a miss by Graham. The 2 seed is still up for grabs. Now Oregon State can only sit and watch as they lead Western Carolina 3-0 in the 4th. One strike pitch. The other way, and it's punched through by Carter Graham for a hit. They're going to wave Eddie Park around third as Bryce Matthews comes up throwing. Scoring standing up is Park. Tommy Troy to third, and Stanford adds on another. 9-3 Cardinal. Going the other way, Carter Graham has driven in 4 today. That now gives him 60 batted in on the year. This innings rally started with 2 outs and nobody on. A walk to Eddie Park, a walk to Tommy Troy, now a single by Carter Graham. And here comes Braden Montgomery, who's 3 for 3, is driven in 2. 9-3, the Cardinal lead it. Washington finally escapes that 6th inning where Cal scored 9. 11-4 to the bottom of the 6th as Braden Montgomery takes a strike. One and one. One pitch, and Montgomery takes ball that bounces, taken off for second. They have runner Carter Graham hung up in a rundown. They glance at Tommy Troy. Russell chases him and tagged out before Troy breaks for the plate, and Carter Graham is out. The side is retired. It's Carter Graham looking to advance. Stanford gets another 9-3 Cardinal to the home 5th. So this is the format for the Pac-12 tournament, which again starts first game at Scottsdale Stadium is Tuesday morning, 10 a.m. And the expanded field this year, 8 to 9 teams, 3 pools funneling into the semifinals with 1 wildcard team going in.
Number 25.
And the championship will be Saturday night. There's the layout for how the pools. So Stanford is the 1. Either Cal or Washington State will be the 9. Everything else still in play. Joey Dixon to the outside edge. Sam Brown takes a strike. 2-run single for Brown in the second. He's 1 for 2. 2, 3, and 4 for Washington State here in the 5th. Bouncer into the shift. Timo Becerra ranging. And on the other side of second base, the shortstop handles it. There's 1 gone. Boy, I've been really impressed defensively with Becerra here in this series. His defense has been spectacular. And keep in mind, the Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year last year was Adam Crampton, the Stanford shortstop. And there were 3 guys vying for that job. Jacob McKeon 0 for 2. And McKeon drills that one deep, but it's hooking. And that's a long foul ball. 0-1 on McKeon. And you thought maybe the inside track would belong to Trevor Haskins. As a sophomore this year, Haskins, who came up with an enormous hit in the postseason last year for Stanford, is in that regional final game against Texas State. It was a walk-off hit by Haskins that put Stanford into the Super Regionals. The RBI single, and Haskins, who'd played sparingly last year. And you thought that Haskins, okay, maybe he could have the inside track at the middle infield shortstop spot. Owen Cobb has been a nice reserve player over the seasons at Stanford, and really had not had much of an opportunity considering Adam Crampton was a magnificent shortstop in front of him. Then you also had Timo Becerra came in highly decorated, and they were battling. And then Haskins was dealing with an illness and some injuries, as it's now 3-1 on McKeon. And Becerra also was dealing with some stuff, and that opened the door for Owen Cobb, and he didn't relinquish that job. So he got off to a great start and has been entrenched in that shortstop role this year as a bullet to center hit right at Eddie Park. And McKeon now 0 for 3 is McKeon for Washington State again. Had his 9-game hitting streak broken up yesterday. Did walk twice in the ball game. And there's 2 outs here in the home fifth. And that'll bring up Bryce Matthews, is 0 for 1 with a walk. Huskies trying to rally. DeCarlo is homered. Now A.J. Guerrero an RBI double, driving in Cam Clayton. So UW coming right back. And it's 11-6 Cal. Still nobody out. Bottom of the 6th. Tucker Bougie on in relief for Cal, replacing Paul-Sean Pasqualano. Bottom of the 8th. Still tied at 1. UCLA and Arizona State. Beavs now up 4-0 on Western Carolina. One strike pitch slicing down the left side as Rios gives it a glance. Watches it sail into the Cougars bullpen. It's 0-2. Oh and 2 on Bryce Matthews. Hit his first home run of the year here Thursday night after 6 a year ago. This one will get out of play. Matthews has swung the bat well this weekend, and bears repeating, as talking to Brian Green Thursday before the opening game of this series about Matthews. And even though Matthews struggled last weekend, at least numbers-wise against Cal and Berkeley when the Cougars won the series, Matthews was only 1 for 14 last weekend. But he hit the ball well. Just didn't have it really much to show for it, just the one hit. There were a number of balls that he barreled up and just hit on a line at people. But this weekend, he's getting some hits. And there's a bouncer, a comebacker speared by Joey Dixon. Underhands for the out, and Dixon a 1-2-3 inning. We're through 5 in Pullman. Middle third of the order coming up for the Cardinal, 9-3 Stanford. I want to thank our camera people, not just this weekend, but really all season long for outstanding work. And sometimes you got to brave the elements up here. This weekend, it's been about the heat. It has been a roasting weekend. The weather's been tremendous, and certainly you never know what you're going to get weather-wise this time of the year, but it has been a magnificent day. Big crowd, shorts and T-shirt weather, temperature in the mid-80s. As we head to the 6th, Braden Montgomery was at the plate when Carter Graham was hung up in between first and second to end the top of the 5th inning. Umbrellas to hide from the sun, but again, thank you to all our camera people working with us all weekend and all season here in Pullman. Need the sunscreen this weekend as opposed to the heavy jackets. Good day for Braden Montgomery, 3 for 3. double, a couple of singles. He's driven in 2. He's homered here this weekend. 0-2 on Montgomery. Grant Taylor. Ball 1. Arizona State has taken the lead 2-1 over Arizona, or rather UCLA. 1-2. 2 balls, 2 strikes now in Montgomery. As Nick McLean has homered for the Sun Devils. 2-1 Arizona State. Bottom of the 8th. So the Sun Devils, a win with a USC loss later. And Arizona State will be the 4 seed. 2-2 from Taylor. And Montgomery takes strike 3 called, paints the black at 93. 1 gone in the 6th. Good firm fastball from Grant Taylor to the outside edge. Maybe got a couple of extra inches. Nice frame job by the catcher, Jacob Morrow. Alberto Rios reached on an error in the 4th. He's 1 for 3 with an RBI today. The average falling to 397. What a year it's been for Rios. So UCLA, their scenario is if they don't come back and Arizona State beats the Bruins. And then UCLA will wait to see what happens tonight in Tucson. Should Arizona beat USC, Arizona would be the 7th seed and the Bruins would be the 8th seed. But if UCLA ends up losing and Arizona loses tonight, then Bruins are the 7. 1-1. Rios chops it foul. 1-2 on the Stanford left fielder. Nathan Manning has just homered for Cal. They've extended their lead 12-6 over Washington. Cal wins. They're the 9. Two and 2 on Rios. And should Washington come back and win, which the Cougars need, and Washington State would need to come back also here and win to get in. But the 2 seed is up for grabs. Should that score hold and Cal beat Washington, not only is Cal in, but then the Huskies would fall to the 3 seed and Oregon State would be the 2. Full count on Rios. And Cal's just gone back-to-back. Carson Crawford is homered again for Cal. 13-6, and the Cougs are used to coming back. And they're going to need a tremendous one, though, today. Against Pac-12 champs, the number 5 team in the country, Stanford. Rios fights it off. It's Cal going back-to-back against Josh Emanuels. Oregon already winning. The Ducks will either be the 5 or the 6 seed. They cannot move up to 4 because of the tiebreaker scenarios. Taylor, the motion, and the 3-2. And Rios draws a walk. That is the 3rd issued by Taylor. And for Stanford, they have already drawn 7 walks in this game. One out base runner, Malcolm Moore, has walked today. He's 1 for 2 with an RBI. There is activity for Stanford in the bullpen. A right-hander is getting loose. And Malcolm Moore looks at a strike. Good pitch from Grant Taylor. Alberto Rios, the runner at first, is Taylor. Delivers. And Moore takes off the outside at 88. Changeup from the right-hander, 1-1. So a role that Taylor has not been in this season, working out of the bullpen. Playing Malcolm Moore to pull defensively. And Moore in the air to center, going back toward left center. And Advincula runs out of room, and Malcolm Moore hits it out. Fly ball that just kept going. And to the left of dead center, Malcolm Moore with his 12th of the year. That's 2 homers for Stanford today. And it's now 11-3 Cardinal in the 6th. That homer gives Stanford now 97, a Pac-12 best. It's Malcolm Moore showing off his power right there. Had 2 homers last weekend, and he's homered now in 3 of the last 5 games. Drew Bowser 0 for 3 as Taylor bounced foul by Bowser. And Malcolm Moore clearing the wall out there in center, where it jumps up. Straightaway center field. And it was well out of here from Moore. 1 strike pitch. And Bowser evens the count. 1 ball, 1 strike. Stanford has scored in every inning but the 2nd. In tight to Bowser. Two balls and a strike on the Stanford second baseman is Bowser along with Becerra. The only Cardinal that have not reached base today. And Eddie Park, also like Bowser and Becerra, does not have a hit, although Eddie Park has walked 3 times today. And he has scored 3 runs. 2-2 on Bowser. Grant Taylor. The pitch. And it's full on Drew Bowser. Cal is homered again. Caleb Lomavita. 15-6 Cal, and Lomavita's hit 2 as the Bears have hit 6 home runs in that game. And Bowser, strike 3 called in disbelief. He'll just turn and walk away. 2 outs. Second strikeout for Grant Taylor. And so Taylor gets the strikeout, and little hand gesture there about the strikeout. We've seen that from Ryan Bruno, did it yesterday after he got a strikeout in the 9th inning. Jake Sapien 1 for 3, Stanford DH, and it's strike 1.
Give me the stare down, Rob. Take it out on him.
I guess if you're Cal, and after you erupted and scored 12 last night, and you knew the situation going into today, Sapien hits it in the air to right, over toward the line. Fighting the sun is Bryce Matthews, casually makes the catch. Side retired, but 2 more for the Cardinal. We head to the home half of the 6th in Pullman. Cougs got some catching up to do. New pitcher for the Cardinals. We head to the home half of the 6th. Joey Dixon gone after 5 innings. And Nick Dugan takes over on the mound as Dixon settled in, gave up all 3 runs in the first couple of innings. Walked 3, struck out 3, surrendering 5 hits. And now turns it over to the bullpen. And Dixon, the last 3 innings, retired 9 of the 10 batters that he faced. So he settled down and now is handing it off to Dugan. As Nick Dugan, the freshman from Eureka, way up in Northern California. And Dugan's got some good stuff. Hard-throwing right-hander. And he will face Hainline, McGee, and Russell, 5, 6, and 7 for Washington State. And Nick Dugan Struck out 48 in 41 2/3, and there's numbers. Again, the ERA is not pretty, but he's got a lot of talent. And Dugan last worked for Stanford. Started against Arizona and was touched up for 7 runs in 2 innings last Sunday. That 21-20 Wildcats win. First pitch, Elijah Hainline skies it, pushing foul and out of play into the Stanford bullpen area. It is a final in Tempe. Arizona State has hung on, and the Sun Devils defeat UCLA 2-1. Arizona State takes 2 out of 3 in that series from UCLA as a liner to center turned around, and a sharp single from Elijah Hainline. 2 hits today and an RBI for Hainline. Leadoff base runner for Cam McGee, who's 0 for 2. Christian Curtis, the win in relief. Rather, Owen Stevenson, I should say, the win in relief for ASU. And Chris Grothis took the loss. Michael Barnett started for UCLA, and Christian Curtis started for the Sun Devils. As ASU a 2-1 win, homers by Nick McLean and Ryan Campos got it done. John Vaughn's homering for the Bruins' lone run in that game. So Arizona State finishes league play 16-13 with 31 wins overall, 31-22. But limping into Scottsdale, having lost 8 of their last 11. And UCLA 12-16-1. 27-23. 1-1 on Cam McGee, who's double play ball and a foul out. Arizona State playing less than the 30 games. They will play 29 because of weather in a game against Washington that was canceled. Dugan just missed 2-1. So 2-1. Arizona State with the win. So now the attention turns to what happens tonight for USC to lay out who will be 4, 5, and 6. As USC wins, they're the 4. If Arizona beats USC now, Arizona State would be the 4. And that game that was not played makes it a half-game difference in why the Sun Devils would move up. And then USC and Oregon would be tied for 5, but USC has the tiebreaker over the Ducks. So the Trojans would be the 5. A bouncer to second. Drew Bowser on a short hop to second. On to first. Double play. Timo Becerra, quick turn, and the bullet to first, and there's 2 away. Again, another impressive defensive play by Becerra. Quick turn. This was not an easy double play. As Bowser on the short hop gets to it, and the quick transfer and the strong arm for Becerra. 2 outs. Kyle Russell 1 for 2 of the run. Will be the batter against Nick Dugan. USC beats Arizona. They're the 4. USC loses. Chopper to short. Becerra again. Busy guy, handles it. We're through 6. On to the 7th inning. Stanford still in control. Cardinal 11-3. New pitcher for Washington State as we go to the 7th. Andrew Bond. With a B, not a V, not to be confused with the former Golden Spikes Award winner at Cal and the current White Sox first baseman. Andrew Bond, the junior from Vegas, the transfer from the College of Southern Idaho. There is numbers on the year, 39 strikeouts in 33 innings, 5-0. 2 innings from Grant Taylor, gave up 3 runs, 2 hits, walked 3, struck out 2. And for the Cardinal against Bond, the 6'4", or the 6'2" right-hander here. 9-1-2, Timo Becerra, Eddie Park, Tommy Troy.
batting for the Cardinals, shortstop number 27, Timo.
Becerra 0 for 3, but sparkling defense played by Becerra today. Sophomore has been nothing short of spectacular defensively here today. I'm not sure if he's making Owen Cobb nervous over there yet, as Owen Cobb's had a terrific season. Off the side of the mound, backhanded at second. Elijah Hainline bounces it to first and was able to get just enough on the throw, and Becerra retired. One pitch, one out for Bond. It's Hainline taking advantage of the field turf to be able to bounce that one over. Eddie Park is 0 for 1, but he has walked 3 times and scored 3 runs. So 1 gone in the 7th. Last 2 years for Bond at the College of Southern Idaho. And among the conference leaders in appearances this year, and now the second most appearances with 32 in a season for Washington State. One strike pitch to Park, and that one slider that runs inside, 1-1. Washington State has 9 outs to try to play catch up here with Stanford. And they got to keep the Cardinal off the board, as well as Stanford's offense has been coming at Washington State today. Second in the Pac-12 in hitting. They lead the conference in homers. They've hit 2 today. 3-run shot by Carter Graham in the first, and Malcolm Moore's 2-run blast in the 6th. Bond the 1-2, and that's just low to Eddie Park. 2 balls, 2 strikes. And the Cardinal offense today, or yesterday rather, 14 hits. They had 13 singles in the 7-4 win, and came back on Thursday to get the win in 10. The other way, loop to third, and Cam McGee snares it. 2 gone in the Stanford 7th. Tommy Troy is yet to be retired today. He is 2 for 2. He's walked twice. He's scored 3 runs, a double and a single for the Stanford third baseman. Again, Washington State, the only chance to get into the Pac-12 tournament, and it's starting to fade into the distance now. They have to come back and win. They trail here by 8. They also need Washington to come back and beat Cal, where the Bears are up 15-6 in tight to Troy. Fastball at 92. And if you're Mike New and Cal, look, you were in a good spot today. You win and you're in. Or if you lose, you have Stanford to rely on if you don't win. And if the Cardinal were to beat Washington State here, and if Cal had lost to Washington, then Cal was still getting in. But if you're Mike New and Cal, you don't want to back your way in. You want to swing your way in. That's what they've done. It's just foul off the bat of Troy. And Cal trying to leave no doubt over there and not put it in the hands of their arch rivals. And they've hit 6 home runs. And it'll have some momentum heading into Scottsdale, where they'll play Tuesday night, should they hold on and win. They will be the 9 seed. They will play the 6 seed. And more than likely in the scenarios, that 6 seed, well, it either will be Oregon. So I'm trying to digest the scenarios. Okay, Arizona State won. Oregon won today. There's a bouncer right past the mound and through. And it almost took Andrew Bond with him. And Tommy Troy has reached base all 5 times today. And what a weekend for the Stanford third baseman. Tommy Troy is now 8 for 11 this weekend. He has hit 2 homers. He has scored 6 runs. And he's at first with 2 outs for Carter Graham, who homered back in the first. So Tommy Troy is on, and Graham, who's driven in 4 today, an RBI single his last time. With Arizona State winning, DeCarlo just homered for Washington for the second time today, a 2-run shot. Against the former Bruin, now pitching for Cal, Daniel Colwell, 15-8 Cal in the bottom of the 7th. So with Arizona State and Oregon winning, USC wins, they're the 4. ASU is the 5. Oregon is the 6. The USC loss later, and Arizona State and Oregon winning. Carter Graham rips it to left. It's deep in a 2-homer game. Carter Graham launches one over the wall. Last year's Pac-12 home run champ does it again. 3rd homer for the Cardinal today. Everyone with guys aboard. And Stanford has ballooned the lead to 14-3. 13-3, I beg your pardon. 13-3 and the 2-run shot as Graham has driven in 6. Carter Graham, line drive homer to left. And there's 2s down still, a single by Troy and then the homer by Graham, and now it's Braden Montgomery. 3 hits for Montgomery today, and he's driven in a couple of runs, and he takes a strike from Andrew Bond. 13-3. And a no-doubter from Carter Graham. Fouled off by Montgomery. It's 0-2. So 2 homers from Graham. Another one from Malcolm Moore. And a 10-run lead for the Cardinal. So with, again, Arizona State winning, Oregon winning. USC wins, they're the 4. Then there'd be a tie, Oregon and SC. USC has the tiebreaker. They'd be the 5, and Oregon would be the 6. So Oregon locked in now as the 6, if my formulas are correct. And we will have Oregon in the 6th seed against the 9 seed, either Cal or Washington State. On Tuesday night, as Montgomery takes outside. Again, all games in the Pac-12 tournament up until the final on Pac-12 Network. Starting (10 a.m. Tuesday) as Montgomery went chasing, and he's down on strikes. Time to stand and stretch in the Palouse. 2 more for Stanford as we head to the home 7th. 13-3 Cardinal. Beautiful Saturday afternoon. Just gorgeous weather this time of the year, and great to see it in Pullman. Just a wonderful weekend. Great hospitality from the Washington State baseball and athletic people here this weekend. Being around town. 8-9-1 for the Cougars in the 7th against Nick Dugan. Jacob Morrow 0 for 2, second inning of duty for Dugan. And the first pitch, a soft liner that falls in front of Alberto Rios in left. And Jacob Morrow is on to start the 7th for the Cougars. Jake Harvey coming up 1 for 2.
Number 29, Jake Harvey.
So games on Tuesday on Pac-12 Network. As Darren Sutton and Ben Francisco will have the opener at 10 a.m. from Scottsdale Stadium. And game 2 at 2:30. And game 3 at 7. All 3 on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday on Pac-12 Network. And then Friday, both semifinal games on Pac-12 Network, with the championship coming up on ESPNU Saturday night from Scottsdale. 1-0 pitch in there to Jake Harvey for a strike from Dugan. So I'll have the 2:30 game and the 7 o'clock game on Tuesday. Fooled McGee or Harvey there. It's 1-2. And I will be teamed up with, I think his name is Wes Clements, but I'm not 100% sure. I think Wes just fell out of his chair at home. Swing and a miss, and Harvey down on strikes. There's one gone. Back to the top of the order for Washington State. And that'll bring up Jonah Advincula for the Cougars.
Number 11, Jonah Advincula.
Advincula today, 1 for 2. He's walked, he scored 2 runs. And it's been a tremendous season for Advincula. Made the jump coming from the Division III level in the Redlands. And great story how Brian Green found him playing over the summer in the Northwest Collegiate League. As he was playing for the Corvallis Knights, as Brian Green was there to watch one of his current players play over the summer. And then Brian Green kept noticing this guy out in center field, and he goes, my goodness, that kid can play. Hit upwards of 300 playing in that league, which is a very good college league, and that one fooled Advincula. And last year he hit .430 for Redlands. And as soon as Advincula went into the portal, Brian Green jumped on it immediately and said, this is a guy that I have to have in my program, and got him to come to Pullman. And he's been a great find and a stalwart in center this year for the Cougars. 2-1 the count on Advincula, and then tried to recruit his younger brother Jaron out of the Bay Area. And Jaron, though, who was originally committed to go to San Diego State, and then backed off that commitment and is signed to play at Cal for Mike New. 2-1. Buried the fastball. It's 3-1. Western Carolina has made it interesting in Corvallis. 6th inning, the Beavs up 4-3 on Western Carolina. Nick Dugan, the pitch, and he walked him. David Esker doesn't want to see that. He just wants to get guys throwing strikes out of the bullpen in this situation. Up 10 runs in the 7th inning. As Advincula's on for the 3rd time today. 2nd walk he is drawn. And here comes Sam Brown. 2-run single back in the 2nd for Brown. 1 for 2 today. He's also walked. Now Western Carolina is tied Oregon State. 4-4, still batting in the 6th. That's not good for the Beavers. That's a series you need to sweep if you want to be a regional host. And they put up 20 runs in each of the first 2 games against Western Carolina. And a series like that, unfortunately, because of where they sit RPI-wise, it can only hurt you. It really can't help you much. And if you lose a game, your RPI will drop a decent amount. As Oregon State firmly in the conversation to be a regional host, and Washington was potentially in that position as well. Ball 2 from Dugan. But Washington, after winning the first game from Cal on Thursday, losing last night, now trailing 15-8 in the bottom of the 8th. And also, if Cal wins that game, Oregon State will be the 2 seed and UW would be the 3. Activity beginning in the Stanford bullpen is Nick Dugan having trouble finding the zone. Three 3-0 the count on Brown. Jacob McKeon on deck for Washington State. The pitch. And that catches the corner for a strike. 5 innings from Joey Dixon. Now Nick Dugan, the freshman out there. Jacob Morrow at second. Jonah Advincula at first. And that's in there to Brown, and the count is now full on the Cougars' first baseman. Three and two with one out. Cougars have been quiet since early in this game offensively. And Dugan delivers. Strike three called, outside edge. And Sam Brown is gone looking. And there's two outs here in the last of the seventh for Jacob McKeon. As Dugan darts it over the outside. McKeon 0 for 3 in this game. Touching pregame ceremony honoring the seniors on senior day, and then his niece Millie, Jacob McKeon's niece, got to throw out the first pitch to the Cougars DH, strike one. That'd be a great moment for the McKeon family. Morrow at second, Advincula at first. Dugan, the one-strike pitch. And that gets away from the catcher, Malcolm Moore. The runners advance on a wild pitch. Jacob Morrow to third. And up to second base for Wazoo is Advincula. Now two in scoring position for McKeon. It's 1-1. Gone to the bottom of the sixth now, tied at 4. Oregon State hosting Western Carolina. Ground ball to first. Knocked down. Carter Graham picks it up, takes it himself. Side retired. The Cougs strand 2. Through 7. Stanford 13. Washington State 3 as we head to the 8th. Some changes for Washington State as we go to the 8th, and Stanford up 13-3 is Brian Green getting some guys in the game and letting them have a chance to play. As new pitcher for the Cougs, there is Duke Brotherton on the mound after one inning from Andrew Bond. So for the right-hander, Brotherton, 6'5" junior from Mercer Island over near Seattle. And he will face Rios, Moore, and Bowser, 5, 6, and 7 for the Cardinal here in the 8th. New right fielder is the grad transfer from Oregon State. And the senior playing his last college game today, Greg Fuchs. Out there in right field. Fuchs, the senior from Mercer Island as well. There he is in right field, and had a nice 4-year run at Oregon State. And grad transferring here to play for the Cougars. And Fuchs getting a chance, and had a big moment earlier this year where he homered against his former team when Washington State won a series in Corvallis. So the senior gets in, Fuchs out there in right field. Alberto Rios 1 for 3 today with a run and an RBI. Duke Brotherton slings it in there for a strike to Rios. And it is confirmed Oregon will definitely be the 6. That is confirmed. Oregon will be the 6th seed at the Pac-12 tournament. Brotherton, 10th appearance. He's made one start. And he pours strike 2 in there to Rios. 2-0 and a 5.62 ERA. He's been touched up for 22 hits in 16 innings, but only has walked 3. Oregon State has reclaimed the lead, 5-4 on Western Carolina. Just missed to Rios, 1-2. They're in the 9th now in Seattle, 15-8 Cal. Calvin Kirchhoff now on the mound for UW. Rios fouls it off. So Stanford, again, will have the luxury of not playing until Wednesday. And we'll see how David Esker wants to handle the pitching at the Pac-12 tournament. And keep in mind, Quinn Matthews, who started yesterday, is number 1, throwing over 100 pitches again. And we'll see if David Esker wants to keep him on turn. And Rios takes a little high, 2-2. And look, Stanford's in a good spot, even if they don't win their pool. By the way this format works out, being the number 1 seed, if Stanford wins one game in pool play, and each team will play 2 during pool play. Rios turns that one around into center. And a 2-hit game for Rios. Sharp single by the Stanford left fielder. Leadoff base runner to get Malcolm Moore to the plate. But with Stanford's situation, the Cardinal win just one game, they're advancing to the semifinals. So being the number 1 seed and the regular season champ has certainly its benefits. Rios at first. Here's Malcolm Moore, a 2-run homer in the 6th. He's driven in 3 today. Takes ball 1 from Brotherton. One 1-0 on the Stanford catcher. So what's locked in for now? Stanford is the 1. Oregon's in the 6. Oh, that's all we know. Confirmed. To left, hustling over and in toward the line after playing on a bounce, and it skips past Jake Harvey in left. Stopping at third is Rios, and cruising into second base is Malcolm Moore. Stanford's right back at it. This offense is just relentless. They don't stop. And a double to left, and a 3-hit day for Malcolm Moore. That's 15 hits now for the Cardinal. There's a good swing put on by Moore, going the opposite way, was slicing away from Jake Harvey. And then it kicked off his glove. Rios stopping at third. Moore at second. Drew Bowser 0 for 4. Takes strike 1. They're going to the bottom of the 9th in Seattle. Cal's tacked on another. Then it's 16-8. One strike pitch. Swing and a miss. Bowser late on the fastball. 0-2. Two in scoring position for the Cardinal. 15 hits now for Stanford as Bowser fights that one off. So Cal's 3 outs away from claiming the 9th spot and heading to Scottsdale. And an 8-run lead over Washington going to the bottom of the 9th. Way outside to Bowser at 92. Ball and 2 strikes on Drew Bowser. And the pitch. Bowser chased one and he's down on strikes. Third time he has struck out today. And there's one away in the 8th, second and third for Jake Sapien. And a strikeout for Brotherton, but first, instead of pinch hitter for Sapien, this will be Cole Hinkleman batting for Stanford. And the tall left-handed swinger, Hinkleman, 6'5" senior from Sammamish, Washington. So the Washingtonian gets a chance to have an at-bat here. So the DH for a decent part of the season for Stanford as Hinkleman takes a strike. But Jake Sapien supplanting him in that role for the Cardinal here down the stretch. 161 with a couple of homers for Hinkleman. And he lines that pitch into right center, cut off by Hainline. And that'll be an infield hit, technically. Fielded by the second baseman in shallow right. That brings in a run. As Rios scores, going to third is Moore, and it's 14-3 Stanford. And RBI single for Cole Hinkleman as Washington State put the shift on for the left-handed batter. Timo Becerra 0 for 4 come up now for the Cardinal. Hinkleman had a huge 2-strike, 2-out homer in the ninth inning, and Stanford pulled off a sweep over at Cal earlier this year. That's his biggest hit of the year. So here is Becerra. Runners at the corners. So again, Stanford, the line score, they have scored in every inning today but the second. And a nice stab to knock it down by the catcher, Jacob Morrow. What a day, at least defensively, it's been for Becerra. Number of key plays there in the middle of the diamond. Takes a strike, 1-1. See how spelling of Temo, T-E-M-O. Should point out, my dog, his name is Timo. In the air, right center, off the bat of Timo Becerra. A beat on it for Greg Fuchs, who makes the catch. The runners tag but bluff. They don't go. And there's 2 outs here in the 8th. And no, my dog is named not named after Timo Becerra.
Center fielder number 22, Eddie Park.
Eddie Park, the batter. He's 0 for 2 with 3 walks and 3 runs today. My son, who's an avid hockey fan and player, named our dog after his favorite hockey player. His name is Timo Meier, but spelled T-I-M-O. Ball 1 to Eddie Park. As Timo Meier was playing for the San Jose Sharks, was traded midseason to the New Jersey Devils. It's a rough day for young Jake Bernstein. 1-0 pitch. Eddie Park slices this one off. That pushes foul and out of play. Pinch hitter has moved out on deck. Jimmy Nadai for Stanford. And the Tommy Troy spot. One and one. Duke Brotherton. The pitch. That's high, and oddly enough, it was Brotherton who was the player that was playing in Corvallis over the summer that Brian Green went to go see when he noticed Jonah Advincula playing for the same team, the Corvallis Knights. Two-one pitch. Swing and a miss by Park. It's 2-2. Malcolm Moore at third. Cole Hinkleman, the runner, at first base. 14 runs on 16 hits for the Cardinal today. Brotherton. The pitch. And that just missed. 93 from Brotherton in a full count. Runners lead from the corners. Brotherton, the 6th Cougar pitcher of the day. And here it comes. And that ball's fought off by Eddie Park, out of play. Do it again, 3-2. Hinkleman jogging back to first. And Malcolm Moore across the way over at third.
Well, no, there was
3-2 on Eddie Park. Here it comes. Park slaps it past third, foul. Now Nadai has moved back into the dugout, and Tommy Troy has moved back on deck for Stanford. So interesting that David Esker was thinking about, okay, maybe getting a guy or two out. But Tommy Troy is now on deck after he wasn't originally. Pulled on the ground. Diving stop by Sam Brown at first. Underhands to Brotherton to get the out. A terrific play by the Cougs first baseman Brown. Side retire to run for Stanford. We head to the bottom of the 8th, 14-3 Cardinal. 14-3 Stanford. To the bottom of the 8th we go. And a new pitcher for the Cardinal as we start the bottom of the 8th. And it's Torin O'Haron. Second appearance in this series. O'Haron faced a batter yesterday and struck out Jake Harvey. He'll face Bryce Matthews' spot, which is now occupied by Greg Fuchs. Elijah Hainline. And Cam McGee here in the last of the 8th inning. 2 scoreless innings from Nick Dugan. And now it is O'Haron out there on the mound for the Cardinals. Joey Dixon started, went the first 5. Numbers on O'Haron. As O'Haron, freshman from Rockland out near Sacramento. So the bottom of the 8th, and the Cougars down to their final 6 outs. It'll be Fuchs, Hainline, and McGee. As Greg Fuchs, former Beaver, hitting just 160 on the year. Its only home run coming against his former team. And Fuchs, who played in some postseason games at Oregon State, had a good run playing for the Beavers and coming back up to Washington to play the final collegiate season.
Number 6, Greg Fuchs.
Working on his master's in business administration at Washington State. So Fuchs leads off the 8th against O'Haron. And Fuchs' first pitch lifts it back out of play. Huskies aren't going down. It's 16-11 as Kobe Morales has homered for Washington. 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th. So Cal 1 out away from securing the final spot of the Pac-12 tournament. 7-4 Oregon State in the 7th, now 0-2 on Fuchs. And again, Cal finishes that off. They will take Washington State out of the equation to reach the Pac-12 tournament. 0-2. Fastball fouled straight back. 94 from O'Haron. So David Esker trying to find some arms here that can be a big boost for him in the postseason. He knows what he's got with Matthews, with Bruno, with Dowd. Hopefully Matt Scott can turn the corner and get back to where he was early in the year. Could be a valuable member for the pitching staff for the Cardinal in the postseason. Joey Dixon was solid today. But Nick Dugan, Torin O'Haron, these are opportunities for these young arms to really step up. Strike 3 called outside corner with the breaking ball, and there's one gone. Here comes Elijah Hainline, who's 2 for 3 with an RBI. It's a good pitch by O'Haron. Brought it back over the outside. So Elijah Hainline, the batter. If you look at some of the arms and opportunities, Brad Panther could be a valuable member in the postseason rotation for Stanford. It's strike 1 from O'Haron. Ty Huber, who's been battling some injuries, trying to pitch his way back into form. As he returned last weekend and pitched against Arizona, as he missed about a month. And Huber's still trying to get back to the form of a year ago when he was really strong as a freshman. Fly ball left center field, deep, looking up, and it is gone. A home run left center, Elijah Hainline. Team leading 12th of the season, and Hainline with his second homer in this series in a 3-hit day. Long homer for Hainline. 14-4 Stanford.
What I told you.
number 7.
Crushed by Hainline.
McGee.
So one out for Cam McGee. Strike one from O'Haron. One ball, one strike. Fouled off 1-2 on McGee. Kyle Russell on deck for Washington State. Eight hits now for the Cougars. There's a look at Russell on deck. Cam McGee has had a rough series here this weekend with the bat. And he hits that one out towards center, and that's going to fall in. And McGee hits the bag, thinking about two. He's hustling to second base in a double. Cam McGee didn't stop. Hustling out of the box, ends up at second base. Double to center, and Kyle Russell, the batter, 1 for 3 today. And McGee tearing out of the box. Knew he had a chance at two. He was smelling double coming out of the box. There he is with a double. First hit of this series for McGee, his 9th double of the year. Now here's Kyle Russell, the batter for Wazoo. Strike one from O'Haron. Homer by Hainline here in the 8th for the Cougars. Still trying to grind out their at-bats here and battle against Stanford. One ball, one strike. No activity in the Cardinal bullpen. There is a lefty tuning up for Washington State. Down the left field side. One and one. The pitch. Swing and a miss, tied him up 1-2. Pinch hitter looks like has moved out on deck for Washington State, with Jacob Morrow due up next. 1-2. Torrin O'Haron, the pitch. Missed with a fastball. Looks like Griffin Myers has moved out on deck to pinch hit. It is a final in Seattle, and Cal has won. 16-11, Cal over Washington. Swing and a miss, struck him out. 2 outs now in the 8th. And that will send up the pinch hitter. And batting for Morrow, see the fastball that O'Haron blows by Russell. And Griffin Myers pinch hitting for Washington State. Myers does not have an official at-bat. He does have a couple of plate appearances. He's walked twice this year, playing in 3 games. So Griffin Myers pinch hitting. The Bay Area native, he's from Pleasanton, and it's strike one from O'Haron. So Myers, 6'4", redshirt freshman from Pleasanton and Amador Valley High School. With Cal's win over Washington, the Bears now secure the 9th spot in Scottsdale. Strike 2 to Myers. And so Cal eliminates Washington State. Paulshan Pascolato, the winner over Case Matter for Washington. 6 homers get it done for Cal. So Cal will play Oregon on Tuesday night on the first day. The 6-seed Ducks, the 9-seed Golden Bears. So Washington State officially eliminated now on the last day of the regular season. 1-2. That's way outside from O'Haron. It's 2-2. Two balls, two strikes. Cam McGee, the runner out there at second base for Brian Green. Brian Green, I know it'll be frustrating for the Cougars not to get into the Pac-12 tournament, but it's been a strong year for Washington State. And a big step forward for this program. Fly ball to right. Drifting over, Braden Montgomery waiting for it to come down. Side retired, we head to the ninth. Homer by Elijah Hainline. 14-4 Stanford.
The Conference of Champions.
Some changes for the ninth for the Cougars as we head to the ninth. As a new pitcher is McCabe Cottrell. New center fielder for Washington State is Nate Swartz. And taking over behind the plate, Griffin Myers for Washington State. One inning from Duke Brotherton. He gives up 3 hits and a run. And he recorded a strikeout. Griffin Myers, who hit, will stay in to play catcher for Washington State. And so they're the numbers on McCabe Cottrell this year. 2, 3, and 4 for Stanford, Tommy Troy. Carter Graham, Braden Montgomery due to bat. So the lefty is the 7th pitcher used by Washington State. Cottrell, the redshirt senior from Spokane Valley, began his college career at Gonzaga. So Swartz in center. The new catcher and the new pitcher, and finishing up his throws. As we head to the 9th inning, Oregon State now 8-4 over Western Carolina. Garrett Forrester is homered for the Beavers. So with the win for Cal over Washington, that cements Oregon State as the 2 seed. And Washington is the 3. So now we know who 1, 2, and 3 are officially. It's Stanford 1, Oregon State 2, Washington 3. And then 6 is Oregon, 9 is Cal. Strike 1 to Tommy Troy. Yet to be retired today. He scored 4 runs. Tommy Troy is 3 for 3, and he's walked twice. McCabe Cottrell. Fouled off by Troy. It's 0-2. So then Arizona or UCLA will be the 7 and the 8. Arizona beats USC tonight. The Wildcats are the 7. The Bruins are the 8. USC beats Arizona. UCLA is the 7, and U of A is the 8 seed. Bouncer to third. Flag down. Cam McGee spins. Skips it across. Safe is Tommy Troy at first. And another hit for Tommy Troy, the infield hit. And a 4-hit day for Tommy Troy. And Carter Graham coming up. So Tommy Troy is on. Carter Graham has driven in 6 in this one. He has homered twice. So Troy is on, hit number 17 for Stanford. So win today for the Cardinal will give them 23 conference wins. And for Stanford, it would be the most wins during league play since 1990. Mark Marquis's team went 24-6 in 1990. In what was the six-pack, the Pac-12 Southern Division, where it was just the Arizona schools, the LA schools, and the Bay Area schools, and he played 2 series against each, home and away. Stanford went 24-6 in league play. 0-2 to Carter Graham is ball 1. Changeup missing. By the way, with that hit for Tommy Troy, his average has jumped over 400 now. He's at 404. And strike three called to Carter Graham, one gone. In the ninth, Braden Montgomery coming up. Three hits, two batted in for Montgomery today. And I point that out as Tommy Troy has a chance to win the batting title, at least for the regular season. So he's 404 with his 4 for 4 today. Kiernan from Utah finishing at 402. So Tommy Troy 2 points up. I believe that's why David Esker kept him in the game as a pinch hitter for Montgomery. This is Henry Gargis, the senior. Not being held is Troy at first base. And Gargis grounds it foul wide at third. It's 0-2. And Alberto Rios, 2 for 4 today, is hitting at an even 400. 0-2 on Gargis, the senior from Yakima. So he's coming back to his home state here this weekend for the final games of the regular season. One and two on Gargis. The pitch. And that's ball two. 2 balls, 2 strikes. On Gargis with Troy at first base and 1 out here. Cottrell's pitch. Fastball pulled on the ground into right. Gargis with a hit. And around second, Tommy Troy breaking for third. So a single for Gargis, pinch hitting for Montgomery. And Alberto Rios will get pinch hit for. And this is the aforementioned Jimmy Nadai, who was on deck at one point already. So Nadai is hitting for Rios. So Rios will end the regular season at an even 400 clip. Jimmy Nadai, the freshman from Australia, takes a strike. Nadai 128, 39 at bats this year, has driven in 5. So David Esker getting some at bats for his guys on the bench here late in the game with the commanding 14-4 lead. So everything else will be settled tonight in terms of who's the 4, who's the 5, who's the 7, and the 8. Depends on the results coming out of the game in Tucson between Arizona and USC. So USC wins tonight. They will be the 4 seed. Arizona wins. Arizona State is the 4. USC is the 5. And if Arizona wins, they're the 7. UCLA is the 8. Trojans beat Arizona. UCLA is the 7. The Wildcats are the 8. So many pieces to the puzzle. Came down to the last day and literally the last game to set the draw. Liner to left off the bat of Nadai. Caught by Harvey in left. Tagging and coming in to score. Sac fly for Nadai, driving in Troy. 15-4 Stanford. 2 outs. And Malcolm Moore will bat here for the Cardinal. He's got 3 hits today, including a 2-run homer. Single, homer, double. So the freshman digging in. And he takes a strike. 0-1 on Malcolm Moore. Fouled back, it's 0-2. In the bottom of the ninth, the Cougars have Harvey's spot Nate Swartz, who went into play center for Advincula. And Sam Brown's spot due to bat. We'll see who's pitching for Stanford. There is activity in the bullpen. 1-2. One and two the count. 2 outs. Cabe Cottrell the pitch, and Moore goes the other way and sliced foul. Do it again, a ball and 2 strikes. A 15-run outburst for Stanford. And keeping a foot on the gas heading into the Pac-12 tournament. Tied up Moore, he's down on strikes. Another run for the Cardinal. We go to the bottom of the ninth. 15-4, Cardinal. Ty Huber, he'll have the honor of getting the final 3 outs of the regular season for Stanford. As the sophomore righty comes out of the bullpen. Myriad of changes for the Cardinal. Jimmy Nadai is now at third base. Saborn Campbell goes in to play right field. Henry Gargis stays in. He's in left.
Defensive changes for the Cardinals. Out right field, number 4, Saborn Campbell. Playing third base, number 15, Jimmy Nadai. Out in left field, number 19, Henry Gargis.
So all the changes. So Gargis in left after a hit for Rios. Saborn Campbell's in right. After Gargis hit actually for Montgomery, and he stays into play left, and Jimmy Nadai now at third base for Stanford. As Tommy Troy is done for the day. And you can insert Saborn Campbell into the 2 spot in the order. So Ty Huber finishing his throws. As Huber, the sophomore from Cameron Park, California. And it'll be Harvey, top of the order, Swartz and Brown for Washington State. So 15-4, 1 inning from Torin O'Haron for the Cardinal. He gave up 1 run.
Jake Harvey.
Stanford's offense doing what they've been doing all year. Scored in every inning but the second today. And first pitch, tap foul by Harvey. 1 for 3 for the Cougars left fielder today. Bottom of the ninth. Stanford looking for win number 37. And we finish league play at 23-7. It's 0-2 now on Harvey. So Huber was a key member of the Stanford pitching staff last year and trying to regain that form. 8.31 ERA this year, though, and 17 1/3 innings. Control has been an issue. He's walked 19. And did he go? Yes, he did. Striking out as Harvey won away in the ninth. That'll bring up Nate Swartz, took over in center for Advincula. 48 at-bats this year, hitting 167. He has a couple of homers. The junior from Farmington, New Mexico, Nate Swartz. And a pinch hitter has moved out on deck. That is Brandon Ponce for the Cougars. Huber fouled straight back. It's 0-1. 0-1 the count on Swartz. 6'4" righty Huber bounces that one up there. 1 ball, 1 strike. Washington State, their season will end at 29-23, 10-19 in conference play. But I think Brian Green's team made progress again this year. They made some strides last year, finished the year strong. Did not get into the Pac-12 tournament last year, will come just short by half a game this year. But the most wins since 2015 for a Washington State baseball team. Some significant steps along the way. Of course, now he's got that new facility out there here at Bailey Brayton Field. New locker rooms, weight room, meeting rooms, lounge for the players, coaches' offices, nutrition station, and a full count on Swartz. Training rooms, which are critical and really is a big addition. And it's not going to blow you away, but it really has everything you need. Practical and a huge boost for this program. Drilled to left, hooking off the bat of Swartz, and it is gone. Home run. Third for Nate Swartz. And Swartz just got it out of here inside the pole. Swartz goes deep, second homer for the Cougars today. And the pitch down and in, and Swartz yanked it over the wall. Third for Swartz. 15-5, and here is Brandon Ponce pinch hitting. 231 for Ponce this year. And batting for Sam Brown. Fooled him there at strike one as Ponce came in yesterday, was 0 for 1 as a pinch hitter, was hit by a pitch. 1 out, bottom of the ninth. Huber. And that fooled Ponce again. It's 0-2. No balls, 2 strikes. 1 down. So Brandon Ponce, the junior from Federal Way. And Huber gets him on 3 pitches, and Ponce had difficulty with Huber. Just didn't see it well at all. Against the Stanford right-hander, now there's 2 gone. Jacob McKeon, the senior coming up, looking for a hit and what's probably his final at bat. So McKeon with 2 homers in the game here on Thursday night. And Ty Huber bounces that one for ball 1. One and 0 on McKeon. Huber the windup and the 1-0 pitch. And that's ball 2. 2 balls, no strikes. But Stanford, who has scored in every inning today, except the second, 18 hits. Carter Graham, 2 homers. Malcolm Moore going deep. And it's 3-0 on McKeon. Greg Fuchs on deck for Washington State. He would be next. And Stanford will be heading into the Pac-12 tournament with a full head of steam after sweeping Washington State if they finish this one off. And that's ball 4 and a walk for McKeon. Final at bat. Head down to first, and Greg Fuchs now the hitter for the Cougars. Fuchs pinch hit and struck out in the 8th inning. So there's 2 gone here in the last of the 9th. Ty Huber trying to just get the final out. Give Stanford the sweep, and he gets strike 1 to Fuchs. Dixon would get the win, the loss for Wilford today. And Fuchs fouls it off, and the Cougs are down to their last strike. 0-2. Huber the pitch. Swing and a miss, struck him out. Ball game. And Stanford finishes off the sweep, and the Cardinal now 37-14. 23-7, the most wins in league play for a Stanford team since 1990. When they had 24 conference wins. Joey Dixon improves to 6-0 with the win, and the Cardinal with 18 hits and a 15-run outburst. We'll see you at the Pac-12 tournament starting Tuesday at 10 a.m. For our Pac-12 Network crew, Roxy Bernstein, so long from Pullman.